Chapter 121, The Liberation of a Devil Fruit. Half an hour later, the vitality formation slowly came to a stop. The crimson streams of life energy gradually disappeared. Silence returned to the island. Whitebeard slowly opened his eyes. The old man who had relied on medicine and IV tubes was gone. Standing in his place was the Edward Newgate who had once stood at the summit of the seas. His broad shoulders, his overwhelming physique, his terrifying vitality, everything had returned. It had taken noticeably longer than Rayleigh's and Sengoku's restoration. Roger looked toward Ren. Why did Newgate take so much longer? Ren answered calmly. His injuries were far more severe. It wasn't simply old age. He looked at Whitebeard. The tremor fruit is powerful. But every time he used its full strength, his own body also suffered. The young Whitebeard could endure that burden. But as he grew older, the accumulated damage became worse and worse. So I had to repair decades of hidden injuries before restoring his vitality. Whitebeard slowly clenched his fist. He could feel it. Every old wound had disappeared. Then, his long-suppressed will erupted. Boom! An overwhelming wave of Conqueror's Haki exploded from his body. The sea around the island violently surged. Black lightning tore through the sky. Roger laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, now that's the Newgate I remember. Garp grinned. About time. Ren calmly raised one hand. His devil fruit activated. Invisible spatial coordinates wrapped around Whitebeard. His restored condition was lengthened. From this moment onward, his body would remain in its restored prime. Whitebeard stretched his shoulders. Every movement felt unbelievably light. He looked toward Ren with a smile. Ren, boy, your devil fruit is truly incredible. What was it called again? Ren answered simply. The length fruit. Whitebeard frowned. Length. He searched through his memories. Something didn't add up. Roger also folded his arms. I've heard of that fruit before. But I don't remember it being capable of anything like this. Neither of them could match Ren's abilities to the devil fruit they remembered. Seeing their expressions, Garp laughed. Ha ha ha, that's because the length fruit isn't the one you remember anymore. The three legends looked toward him. Garp continued, or rather, my grandson is the one who turned the length fruit into what it is today. The previous user could only measure length. Roger blinked. Only measure it. Garp nodded. Ren shortened distance, and turned it into teleportation. He maintained a constant distance between himself and the ground, and turned it into flight. He shortened the duration of injuries, and created an unbelievable healing technique. He even developed infinity. Roger raised an eyebrow. Infinity. Garp nodded. A complicated technique. By constantly manipulating the distance between attacks in his body, he became untouchable. Rayleigh silently remembered the impossible defense he had witnessed. Garp continued, and after awakening his devil fruit, he still wasn't satisfied. He began researching spatial coordinates themselves. He learned how to tear space, collapse space, and manipulate space at a much deeper level. He looked toward Ren. Eventually, his devil fruit underwent something none of us had ever heard of before. It was liberated. Silence. Roger, Rayleigh, and Whitebeard, all three stared at Garp. Roger was the first to speak. Liberated. Rayleigh repeated the unfamiliar word. I've never heard such a term. Whitebeard slowly nodded. Neither have I. The three greatest pirates of the previous era had just heard a concept that didn't exist in any era they knew. Ren calmly looked at them. It isn't a term recorded in history. I named it myself, because a devil fruit that has broken free of its original limits can no longer be judged by the standards of ordinary devil fruits. Chapter 122, Beyond the Devil. Roger looked at Ren. What exactly does liberation mean? Whitebeard and Rayleigh also focused on Ren. Even Garp and Sengoku remained silent. Although they had heard the term before, they had never heard Ren explain the complete theory. Ren calmly began. A devil fruit has its own limits. It also has its own will. Ordinary awakening is simply reaching the limits of the devil fruit. He paused for a moment. But liberation begins where awakening ends. Roger narrowed his eyes. You mean going beyond the fruit itself? Ren nodded. Exactly. When a user completely surpasses the original potential of the devil fruit, the fruit can no longer define the user. The user begins defining the fruit. The three legends silently listened. Ren continued. At that point, the will inside the devil fruit leaves the user's body. It is reborn somewhere else, into another ordinary fruit. Whitebeard frowned. So, the devil fruit returns to the cycle of reincarnation. Yes, Ren replied. The fruit is reborn, but the user loses nothing. Roger's eyes widened. You keep your abilities. Ren nodded. Every ability, every technique, every improvement. Nothing is lost. Rayleigh asked. Then, what about the sea? Ren answered calmly. The curse disappears. Silence. No one spoke. Roger stared at Ren. The curse is gone. Ren nodded once. The liberated user is no longer a devil fruit user. The fruit has already left. What remains are the abilities that have become part of the user. Whitebeard slowly crossed his arms. So after liberation, the sea can no longer weaken you. Correct, Ren replied. Roger couldn't help laughing. Ha ha ha, so you've escaped the greatest weakness of every devil fruit user. Ren nodded. Yes. Whitebeard thought for a moment. Then, if another person eats the reborn devil fruit, there would be 2 people with the same ability. Ren shook his head. No, the reborn fruit returns to its original state. It possesses only the abilities defined by the fruit itself. What I retain, or the abilities I created. Roger immediately understood. So, the new user of the length fruit would only be able to manipulate length as the original fruit intended. Ren nodded. They wouldn't inherit teleportation. They wouldn't inherit infinity. They wouldn't inherit my spatial techniques. They certainly wouldn't inherit my understanding of spatial coordinates. Those techniques belong to me. They are no longer the devil fruits. The island fell silent once more. Whitebeard slowly laughed. Gurararara. So the fruit gave you a foundation. But everything beyond that, you built yourself. Ren nodded. Exactly. I no longer consider my abilities the power of a devil fruit. They are my own. Roger smiled broadly. Ha ha ha, I finally understand. You aren't the strongest length fruit user. He pointed at Ren. You've become something that no devil fruit can measure anymore. Chapter 123, A New Direction. Whitebeard remained deep in thought. He looked down at his massive hands. So, I can also liberate my devil fruit. Ren nodded. Yes, you simply have to go beyond the fruit's original limits. Whitebeard raised an eyebrow. And how do I know where those limits are? Ren answered calmly. First, tell me, what is your awakened ability? Whitebeard thought for a moment. My awakening lets me break space itself. I don't merely create tremors anymore. I can fracture the very space around my target. Roger whistled. Ha ha ha, so you've already gone far beyond ordinary earthquakes. Ren nodded. You have, but I don't think you've reached liberation. Whitebeard looked at him. Why? Ren explained. Because your ability still depends on striking something. The air, the sea, the ground, or an object. The tremor always begins from a point of contact. Whitebeard silently considered those words. Ren continued. If your fruit truly represents vibrations, then why should you need to touch anything? Everyone became quiet. Even Roger and Rayleigh started thinking. Ren looked toward the empty plain beyond the island. Try this. Stand completely still. Don't punch. Don't swing your bisinto. Don't strike the air. Whitebeard narrowed his eyes. Then what do I do? Ren replied. Simply will the earthquake into existence. Make the world itself begin vibrating. The earthquake shouldn't start because you attacked. It should start because you exist. Roger's eyes widened. Ha ha ha, that's insane. Sengoku folded his arms. But it does make sense. Ren nodded. If your fruit still requires a medium, then you're still borrowing the fruit's power. When even that requirement disappears, you'll have stepped beyond what the fruit originally allowed. Whitebeard slowly smiled. Gurararara. So, an earthquake without touching anything. Ren nodded. It may fail. It may not. But if you're searching for liberation, you shouldn't ask what the fruit can do. You should ask what vibrations themselves are capable of. Whitebeard slowly closed his eyes. For the first time in decades, he wasn't thinking about defeating an enemy. He wasn't thinking about protecting his family. He was simply contemplating the true nature of his own power. The island became silent. Everyone instinctively stepped back. Even Roger stopped joking, because they all realized the world's strongest man had just taken his first step toward a realm no devil fruit user had ever imagined. Chapter 124, The First Attempt. Whitebeard stood alone in the middle of the island. He slowly closed his eyes. His observation haki spread outward, not to search for enemies, but to feel the vibrations of the world itself. The sea, the wind, the ground, even the heartbeat of the sea kings beneath the calm belt. Everything was vibrating. Ren quietly watched from a distance. Good. Don't think about creating earthquakes. First, listen. Whitebeard remained motionless. Several minutes passed. Roger scratched his head. Is he asleep? Garp immediately smacked Roger on the back of the head. Smack. Shut up. He's concentrating. Roger rubbed his head. Ouch. Rayleigh smiled helplessly. You two really haven't changed. Whitebeard ignored them. He gradually synchronized his own heartbeat with the rhythm of the island. His breathing became slower. His muscles completely relaxed. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. Without raising a fist, without moving his feet, without touching the ground, he released a tiny amount of his devil fruit power. Nothing happened. The island remained perfectly still. Whitebeard frowned. It failed. Ren shook his head. No, you subconsciously tried to send your power into the ground. You still think I am creating an earthquake. Whitebeard nodded slowly. Ren continued. Forget the ground. Forget the sea. Forget the air. Roger blinked. Then what's left? Ren looked toward Whitebeard. Your own body. The vibration begins with you, not with the world. The world merely responds. Whitebeard fell silent. Those words echoed repeatedly in his mind. The world merely responds. Asterisk. He slowly took another breath. This time, he released no devil fruit power. He simply stood there, completely still. Then, His own heartbeat changed. Thump, thump. Each heartbeat became heavier. The air around him began trembling ever so slightly. Roger immediately noticed. Quote. Did you feel that? Rayleigh nodded. The vibration. It isn't coming from the ground. Sengoku narrowed his eyes. It's coming from Newgate himself. Ren smiled faintly. Exactly. The tremor spread no farther than a few meters. Then, it disappeared. Whitebeard opened his eyes. I understand now. I've always projected my power outward. But if I become the source, the fruit no longer needs a medium. Ren nodded approvingly. You're on the right path. But don't rush. Liberation isn't achieved in a day. It took me years after awakening. Whitebeard laughed loudly. Gurararara. I've waited decades to regain this body. I can wait a little longer. Roger grinned. Ha ha ha. Looks like another monster is about to be born. Garp folded his arms. I pity the next person who fights Newgate. Ren looked toward the distant horizon. If Whitebeard succeeds, he won't merely become stronger. He'll prove that my theory isn't unique to the length fruit. He paused before finishing. It will prove that any devil fruit can transcend its own limits. Chapter 125, The Wrathful Buddha. After watching Whitebeard's first attempt, Sengoku suddenly fell into deep thought. He looked toward Ren. Then, what about my devil fruit? Everyone turned toward the former fleet admiral. Sengoku continued. I awakened it many years ago. My awakened state only gave me floating white flame-like clouds around my shoulders, along with a tremendous increase in my physical abilities. He looked at his own hand. But after that, I could never find another path. Ren remained silent for several moments. Unlike Whitebeard, Sengoku's fruit wasn't based on a single natural phenomenon. Finally, he spoke. Mythical zones are different. They don't represent one specific natural law. They combine many concepts together. That's why they're much harder to liberate. Sengoku nodded. I expected as much. Ren closed his eyes, carefully organizing his thoughts. The others remained quiet. Several minutes later, Ren suddenly opened his eyes. Oh, I may have an idea. Sengoku immediately became attentive. What is it? Ren looked directly at him. Your fruit is the human fruit, model, Buddha. Sengoku nodded. Correct. Ren continued. What does your Buddha represent? Sengoku answered without hesitation. Wisdom, compassion, peace, enlightenment. Ren smiled faintly. Exactly. Your fruit has already reached the original limits of that concept. So if you wish to liberate it, you cannot continue walking the same path. Sengoku frowned. Then what path should I walk? Ren calmly answered. The Wrathful Buddha. Silence. Roger blinked. Quote. Wrathful Buddha. Whitebeard also looked puzzled. Ren continued. In Buddhism, wrath is not always evil. A wrathful deity does not destroy because of hatred. It destroys ignorance. It destroys injustice. It destroys evil. The anger itself becomes a tool. Ren looked directly into Sengoku's eyes. Your fruit currently represents wisdom and peace. To break beyond its original limits, you must also embody righteous wrath. He paused before continuing. A teaching says, anger is like holding a burning coal with the intent to throw it at another. You are the one who gets burned first. Ren nodded slightly. Ordinary anger consumes the person who holds it. But a wrathful Buddha does not lose himself to anger. He commands it. He turns that overwhelming force into absolute clarity. Roger slowly rubbed his chin. So, instead of suppressing your anger, you master it. Ren nodded. Exactly. He looked back at Sengoku. You've spent your entire life restraining yourself. You've always acted as the calm fleet admiral, the wise leader, the peaceful Buddha. But perhaps, the other half of your fruit has been waiting for you all along. Sengoku's pupils contracted. He suddenly remembered every compromise he had made, every injustice he had endured for the sake of maintaining balance, every order from the world government that he had hated, yet still carried out. Ren spoke one final sentence. If the peaceful Buddha has already reached its limit, then, become the Vajra, become the wrathful Buddha. Only by embracing both compassion and righteous wrath can your devil fruit transcend its original concept. The island fell completely silent. Sengoku slowly closed his eyes. For the first time in decades, the former fleet admiral began questioning not the limits of his devil fruit, but the limits of his own heart. Chapter 126, The Eighth Life. The heavy atmosphere gradually disappeared. Roger suddenly laughed. Ha ha ha, mythical zones are really troublesome. I'm glad I never ate a devil fruit. Garp looked at him with a strange expression. Quote. Are you sure? Roger blinked. What do you mean? Without another word, Garp picked up a nearby bucket filled with seawater. Then, he poured it directly over Roger. Splash. Roger instantly froze. His body suddenly became heavy. The strength in his limbs rapidly faded. Quote. What? He staggered slightly. What is this feeling? Rayleigh sighed. I knew Garp would do that eventually. Roger looked at his trembling hands. For the first time in my life, the sea is rejecting me. He slowly turned toward Ren. When did I eat a devil fruit? Rayleigh answered before Ren could speak. Roger, to fully revive you, We had to use the hubby no mi model, Yamata no Orochi. Roger stared blankly. The Yamata no Orochi. Rayleigh nodded. Your soul had already returned. Your body had already been restored. But it still lacked enough extraordinary vitality to permanently stabilize. Ren continued calmly. The Yamata no Orochi possesses multiple lives. We used one of those lives to complete your resurrection. Roger slowly processed everything. So, I'm alive because one of the fruit's lives was consumed. Ren nodded. Exactly. Roger looked down at his hands. Then immediately asked, can you remove it? Ren sighed softly. Yes. Roger's eyes lit up. Really? Ren nodded. I can. But, it won't be as easy as extracting it from Orochi. Roger frowned. Why? Ren explained. Orochi was weak. His own will couldn't resist mine. So forcing the devil fruit out wasn't difficult. He looked directly at Roger. But you're different. You've already synchronized with the fruit. Your will, and the devil fruit's will, have become intertwined. The fruit won't abandon a user like you so easily. Roger folded his arms. So what do we need? Ren calmly answered. Everyone's help. He looked toward Garp, then Sengoku, then Rayleigh. Finally, Whitebeard. I'll need all of your Conqueror's Haki. We have to suppress the devil fruit's will together. Only then can I separate it from Roger without damaging either him or the fruit. Whitebeard nodded. Gurararara. So we're fighting the devil fruit itself. Ren nodded. In a sense. Roger grinned. Ha ha ha. Looks like I have to lose my first devil fruit before I even learn how to use it. Garp laughed loudly. Serves you right. You spent your whole life laughing at devil fruit users. Roger pointed at Garp. And whose idea was it to feed me that fruit? Garp scratched his head. Ren's. Roger immediately looked at Ren. Ren calmly replied. It was the highest probability of success. Roger stared at him for a moment. Then burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. I suppose dying twice would be even more troublesome. The 5 legends slowly gathered around Roger. An extraction that had once required only Ren's Conqueror's Haki would now require the combined will of the strongest men of 2 generations. Chapter 127, the second extraction. The 5 legends formed a circle around Roger. Ren stood directly in front of him. Sit down. Roger immediately crossed his legs. So, this is going to hurt. Ren answered honestly. Probably. Roger laughed. Ha ha ha, I've survived execution. I can survive this. Garp folded his arms. Don't get distracted. If the extraction fails, you might have to eat another devil fruit. Roger immediately became serious. Let's not fail. Ren slowly raised one hand. Everyone, release your Conqueror's Haki. Without hesitation, Garp's will erupted. Boom. Sengoku followed. Boom. Rayleigh released his own. Boom. Whitebeard's overwhelming Conqueror's Haki descended next. Boom. Finally, Ren released his own. Unlike the others, his Conqueror's Haki was unbelievably refined. Instead of exploding outward, it gathered into countless thin strands. The 5 overwhelming wills merged together. The island itself trembled. Sea kings dozens of kilometers away fled deeper into the calm belt. Roger closed his eyes. I can already feel it. Ren placed one hand on Roger's chest. The Yamata no Orochi. I know you're still there. His Conqueror's Haki entered Roger's body. This time, the resistance was immediate. A powerful will awakened from deep within Roger. Unlike Orochi, this devil fruit had found a worthy host. It had no intention of leaving. Roger's body suddenly trembled. Black scales briefly appeared across his arms. Then disappeared. Again, and again. The devil fruit was struggling. Whitebeard frowned. It's resisting. Ren nodded. As expected, he increased the pressure. The other 4 immediately strengthened their own Conqueror's Haki. The 5 king-level wills surrounded the mythical zone from every direction. Inside Roger's body, the invisible struggle intensified. The fruit's will fought desperately. It had finally found someone capable of carrying its full power. It refused to abandon him. Roger suddenly opened one eye. Ha ha ha, so even the fruit wants to keep me. Ren remained completely focused. Don't interfere. Just suppress your own instincts. Roger nodded and closed his eyes again. For nearly 10 minutes, neither side gave in. Then, a faint cracking sound echoed inside Roger's body. Crack. Ren's eyes narrowed. The connection is weakening. He raised his voice. Now, the 4 legends poured every ounce of their Conqueror's Haki into the suppression. Boom. Roger's body erupted with black lightning. The air around him distorted violently. Then, a dark, serpentine silhouette slowly emerged from his chest. It wasn't physical. It resembled a shadow made entirely of spiritual energy. 8 dragon-like heads silently roared. Roger slowly exhaled. So, that's the will inside the fruit. The shadow desperately tried to return. Ren refused. His Conqueror's Haki wrapped around it like chains. Leave. For a brief instant, the island fell completely silent. Then, the shadow finally detached from Roger. At the same moment, a nearby ordinary fruit began glowing. Dark spiral patterns rapidly spread across its surface. The hubby no mi model, Yamata no Orochi, had been reborn once again. Roger suddenly took a deep breath. The heaviness inside his body vanished. He immediately stood up. Without saying a word, he walked straight toward the sea. Everyone watched silently. Roger stepped into the water. Nothing happened. He smiled, then laughed louder than anyone had heard since his revival. Ha 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 ha. The sea, it accepts me again. He stood knee-deep in the calm belt without losing a single bit of strength. The curse had truly disappeared. Whitebeard looked at Ren. So your theory is correct. Ren picked up the newly reborn devil fruit. He looked at it for a moment before placing it inside his foldable space. Then he smiled faintly. It wasn't a theory anymore. Now, it's proof. For the first time in history, a devil fruit user had liberated himself from both the fruit and the curse of the sea. Chapter 128, Before the Journey. The reborn Yamata no Orochi devil fruit disappeared into Ren's foldable space. The island gradually became quiet. Ren looked at the 5 legends standing before him. Everyone, we'll rest today. Roger looked up. And tomorrow? Ren answered calmly. Tomorrow morning, I'll teleport us to the other world I discovered. The atmosphere instantly became serious. Even Roger stopped smiling. Ren continued. Before we leave, if there's anyone you wish to meet, or anything you wish to settle, do it today, because I'm not certain we'll return. Silence. The sea breeze quietly swept across the island. Ren's expression remained unchanged. We know nothing about that world. It may be peaceful. It may be far stronger than ours. We may arrive and be crushed beneath a monster's foot before we even understand what happened. No one laughed, not even Roger. Everyone understood Ren wasn't joking. He was simply stating the possibilities. Ren continued. I'll do everything I can to bring everyone back alive. If the situation becomes life-threatening, I'll immediately teleport us back. But I can't guarantee I'll always have enough time. Whitebeard slowly nodded. That's fair. Roger smiled. An unknown world. If there wasn't danger, it wouldn't be an adventure. Garp snorted. You're still the same idiot. Ren raised one finger. One more thing. Everyone looked toward him. Don't tell anyone where we're going. Roger frowned. Even Rayleigh's crew. Ren shook his head. No, not even family. Not even your closest companions. He looked toward Whitebeard. Especially your crews. Whitebeard nodded. I understand. Ren continued. If someone learns we're traveling to another world, they may eventually try to recreate the portal. They won't understand the danger. They'll only see another land to conquer. His gaze turned toward the distant horizon. If they accidentally succeed, they may invite something into our world. That should never cross the boundary. The island became completely silent. Even Garp's expression turned solemn. Sengoku slowly folded his arms. So, we're not simply exploring another world. We're protecting this one as well. Ren nodded. The gate must remain known only to us, until we understand what's waiting on the other side. Roger took a deep breath. Ha ha ha, this really is different from sailing the Grand Line. Rayleigh smiled. In the Grand Line, if we made a mistake, we died. He looked toward the distant sky. This time, if we make a mistake, our entire world may pay the price. Whitebeard slowly stood. Gurararara. Then I'll visit my sons one last time before we leave. Roger nodded. I'll spend a little time with Ace. Garp smiled. I should probably check on Luffy. Sengoku sighed. And I'll return to Marineford for a few hours. Rayleigh chuckled. I suppose I'll say goodbye to Shaki. Ren nodded once. I'll remain here. I need to make the final adjustments to the teleportation formation. He looked at the 5 legends. When the sun rises tomorrow, we leave our world, and no one knows what awaits us on the other side. Chapter 129, Farewell Before Dawn. The 6 men stood in silence. Tomorrow, they would leave their world. No one knew whether they would return in a day, a year, or never. Ren raised his hand. 5 spatial coordinates appeared before him. I've marked all of you. When you're ready, simply think of returning to this location. I'll sense it. The 5 nodded. One after another, they disappeared. Only Ren remained on the island. He walked back to the enormous teleportation formation. Thousands of ancient symbols covered the ground. He slowly sat in the center. His observation hockey merged with the formation once again. Every spatial coordinate, every layer of the formation, every possible escape route, he checked them repeatedly. This is our lifeline. It cannot fail. Meanwhile, aboard the Moby Dick, Whitebeard quietly sat in his familiar chair. Marco noticed him immediately. Pops, you're back. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. I'll be leaving for a while. Marco frowned. For how long? Whitebeard slowly shook his head. I don't know. So, the Whitebeard pirates are yours until I return. Marco's expression became serious. I understand. Whitebeard looked across his sons. You've all grown into fine pirates. I'm proud of every one of you. The commanders looked at each other. Something about Whitebeard's words felt like a farewell. On Sabayati, Roger and Rayleigh sat outside Shaki's bar. Shaki placed 2 drinks on the table. She looked at Roger for a long moment. So, you really came back? Roger smiled. Looks like it. Shaki sighed. I've stopped trying to understand impossible things. Roger laughed. Ha ha ha. That's probably for the best. Rayleigh quietly looked at the sunset. This might be the last time we see this sea. Roger followed his gaze. Quote, or the beginning of another one. At Marineford, Sengoku stood alone in his office. He looked at the stacks of paperwork covering his desk. Then, he smiled. For once, someone else can deal with these. He left a sealed letter behind. If he never returned, the Marines would at least know he had departed by choice. Somewhere in the new world. Garp found Luffy asleep after another exhausting day of training. The old Marine smiled. You've grown stronger. He gently placed a hand on Luffy's straw hat. Brat, next time we meet, I expect you've become even tougher. Without waking him, Garp quietly disappeared, back on the Calm Belt Island. Night had fallen. Ren finally opened his eyes. The teleportation formation shone brighter than ever before. The neighboring world's spatial coordinates had been completely locked. Everything was ready. Ren quietly looked toward the stars. Tomorrow, we stop being explorers of this world. We become explorers of the unknown. The night passed peacefully. None of them knew that when the sun rose, history would split into two eras. The era before they crossed into another world, and the era after. Chapter 130, Crossing the World Boundary. The first rays of dawn illuminated the Calm Belt. One after another, spatial distortions appeared above Ren's island. Roger arrived first. He wore his old captain's coat. Ace's words still lingered in his heart, but his smile had returned. Ha ha ha, I haven't been this excited in years. The second distortion appeared. Whitebeard stepped onto the island carrying his Bisinto. Gurararara, my sons are still worried, but they know better than to stop me. The third, Rayleigh, then Sengoku. Finally, Garp. The 6 men stood together once more. Ren looked at everyone. Is everyone ready? No one hesitated. Roger smiled. I've been ready since yesterday. Whitebeard nodded. So have I. Ren walked toward the center of the enormous formation. Unlike before, every line of the formation glowed with silver light. Thousands of geometric patterns overlapped each other. The entire island trembled. Roger looked around. So, this is the gate. Ren shook his head. No, this is only the key. The gate has to be opened. He slowly placed both hands on the center of the formation. His observation haki merged completely with it. The locked spatial coordinates appeared inside his mind. Unlike teleporting within the same world, the destination now felt unimaginably distant. It was separated, not by distance, but by a world barrier. Ren slowly exhaled. The coordinates are stable. Everyone instinctively became serious. Ren continued. When I open the passage, stay inside the formation. If anyone leaves, the spatial current may tear them apart. Roger nodded. Understood. Whitebeard rested his Bisinto on his shoulder. Rayleigh tightened his grip on his sword. Sengoku quietly activated his golden Buddha form. Garp coated his fists in armament haki. Everyone prepared for the unknown. Ren slowly activated his devil fruit. Instead of shortening distance, he compressed the distance between two completely different worlds. The formation erupted with light. Boom! The sky darkened. The surrounding sea violently churned. A gigantic circular crack slowly appeared in the empty air above the formation. Unlike ordinary space, the crack revealed absolute darkness. No stars, no light, only endless void. Roger stared upward. So, that's the space between worlds. Ren nodded. The world boundary. The crack continued widening. The terrifying pressure caused the entire island to shake. Even Whitebeard frowned. The barrier. It's resisting. Ren gritted his teeth. It naturally rejects foreign interference. His conqueror's haki exploded. The 5 legends immediately understood. Without a single word, they released theirs as well. 6 overwhelming conquerors' haki surged into the formation. The pressure instantly multiplied. The crack slowly stabilized. Then, for the first time, light appeared beyond the darkness. A completely unfamiliar sky, mountains unlike any in their world, and an enormous forest stretching beyond the horizon. Nobody spoke. Even Roger stood frozen. The unknown world really existed. Ren stared at the scene. His voice remained calm. The passage is open. He looked back at the 5 legends. This is the point of no return. Roger smiled. Ha ha ha, I've crossed the red line. I've reached Laugh Tale. But, this is the greatest adventure of my life. Whitebeard laughed loudly. Gurararara. Then let's see, what kind of monsters live beyond another world sea. Ren took the first step. Without hesitation, he crossed the world boundary. One after another, Garp, Sengoku, Rayleigh, Roger, and finally, Whitebeard followed. The spatial crack slowly closed behind them. The Calm Belt became silent once again. No trace remained. That 6 of the strongest people in history had just become the first humans to leave their world. Chapter 131, A Strange New World. The moment Ren stepped through the world boundary, he felt an unfamiliar energy surrounding his body. It wasn't haki. It wasn't the energy of a devil fruit. It was something entirely different. The others followed one after another. The world boundary silently closed behind them. Roger looked around with excitement. Ha ha ha, so this is another world. The 6 stood atop a grassy hill. Before them stretched an endless plain. Towering mountains pierced the clouds. The trees were several times larger than those of their own world. The air itself felt heavier. Whitebeard took a deep breath. Gurararara. The vitality here is incredible. Rayleigh slowly drew his sword. I've never sensed energy like this. Sengoku frowned. It doesn't resemble hockey at all. Ren quietly observed his surroundings. His observation hockey spread outward. Then, his expression changed slightly. There are people. Everyone looked toward him. How far? About 20 kilometers. They've built a city. Roger's eyes lit up. A city. So humans live here too. Garp laughed. Good. At least we won't have to survive in the wilderness from the start. Ren nodded. We should gather information before doing anything else. Whitebeard agreed. We know nothing about this world's strength. Charging around would be foolish. The group headed toward the city. As they approached, stone roads appeared beneath their feet. Farmland surrounded the area. People worked peacefully in the fields. Horse-drawn wagons traveled along the roads. Children played outside small villages. Everything seemed normal. Roger scratched his head. I was expecting monsters. Rayleigh smiled. So was I. Sengoku remained cautious. Appearances can be deceiving. After another hour of walking, the city walls finally came into view. Massive stone walls surrounded the settlement. Guards wearing steel armor stood at the entrance. Merchants continuously entered and left through the enormous gates. People from many different races walked through the streets. Humans, beastmen with animal ears and tails, short dwarves carrying heavy hammers, tall elves with pointed ears. Roger's eyes widened. Ha ha ha, so many races. Whitebeard smiled. This world is already more interesting than ours. The guards noticed the six approaching. One of them stepped forward. Halt, this is the city of Eldoria. State your identities. The six legends exchanged glances. Roger whispered, Should we tell them we're from another world? Ren immediately shook his head. No, not yet. He stepped forward calmly. We're travelers. We got lost while exploring. The guard looked at their unusual clothing. Especially Roger's captain's coat, Whitebeard's massive stature, and Garp's marine coat. They clearly didn't resemble local adventurers. Still, the guard simply nodded. First time in Eldoria. Ren nodded. Yes. The guard pointed toward the city. Then head straight to the Adventurers Guild. Every traveler registers there. They'll explain the city's rules. Roger whispered to Rayleigh. What's an Adventurers Guild? Rayleigh quietly replied. I don't know. Ren's eyes narrowed slightly. A guild. Interesting. The six calmly walked through the city gates. None of them noticed that the guards had been subtly observing them the entire time. One guard quietly muttered to another. They don't even know what the Adventurers Guild is. They must have come from a very remote region. The other nodded. Either that, or somewhere even stranger. Meanwhile, the six legendary figures from another world continued walking through Eldoria, completely unaware that this seemingly ordinary city was built upon a world governed by rules unlike anything they had ever imagined. Chapter 131, The First City. The six men entered the city through the massive stone gates. Unlike the pirate world, everything here felt orderly. Merchants loudly advertised their goods. Blacksmiths hammered glowing metal. Carriages moved through the wide streets. Children chased one another through the marketplace. Roger looked around curiously. Ha ha ha, this doesn't look much different from our own world. Whitebeard nodded. I expected monsters everywhere. Ren remained silent. His observation hockey constantly scanned the surroundings. Something felt unusual. The people here were stronger than ordinary civilians from their own world. Even an old shopkeeper possessed a physique comparable to an average marine soldier. Yet, none of them seemed to know hockey. Sengoku quietly observed the city. Their bodies are stronger, but their combat techniques are crude. Rayleigh nodded. I noticed that too. Garp laughed. So, different paths to strength. As they walked deeper into the city, they reached a large public square. In its center stood a giant crystal nearly 20 meters tall. It continuously emitted a soft blue glow. Hundreds of people lined up before it. Roger pointed at the crystal. What's that? Ren shook his head. I don't know. Just then, a young boy, around 12 years old, excitedly ran toward the crystal with his parents. The crowd gathered around. It finally awakened. I heard his father is a silver-ranked adventurer. I wonder what class he'll get. Roger blinked. Class. Before anyone could ask, the boy placed his hand on the crystal. The crystal shone brilliantly. A blue screen suddenly appeared in front of the boy. Only the boy seemed able to see it. His eyes widened. I became a swordsman. The surrounding crowd erupted into cheers. Congratulations. A combat class. You can join the Adventurers Guild now. Roger frowned. Did anyone else see that? Whitebeard nodded slowly. A blue light appeared. Ren's expression became serious. So it wasn't an illusion. A moment later, the blue screen disappeared. The boy laughed happily and ran toward his parents. Garp scratched his head. What just happened? None of them had an answer. A nearby elderly man overheard their conversation. He looked at them strangely. You foreigners. Ren nodded. We're travelers. The old man smiled. No wonder. That was a class awakening. Roger asked, "What's a class?" The old man looked surprised. "You really don't know." He pointed toward the giant crystal. "Everyone in the world awakens a class there. Swordsman, mage, healer, blacksmith, hunter. There are countless possibilities. Your class determines how you grow stronger." The 6 legends exchanged glances. This was completely different from their world. The old man continued, "After awakening, you can view your status." Roger frowned. Status. The old man looked even more confused. "You don't know what a status is either." He laughed. "You really came from the middle of nowhere. Go to the Adventurers Guild. They'll explain everything." After thanking the old man, the group quietly walked away. Roger looked at Ren. "So, what do you think?" Ren looked back at the giant crystal. Then calmly said, "I think we've arrived in a world where strength follows completely different rules. For now, we observe, we don't reveal our own abilities. Until we understand this world's system." The 5 legends nodded. Their first destination, the Adventurers Guild, and none of them realized that the moment they entered the guild, this world's system would notice 6 beings who did not belong to its laws. Chapter 132, The Adventurers Guild. The 6 quietly entered the city. Nobody drew attention to themselves. Ren had already reminded everyone before entering. Observe first, speak second, fight last. Roger laughed. "So we're pretending to be ordinary travelers." Ren nodded. For now, they followed the directions given by the guard. Soon, a massive stone building appeared before them. Above the entrance hung a large wooden sign. Adventurers Guild. People continuously entered and exited. Some wore heavy armor. Others carried staffs, bows, or swords. The atmosphere was lively. The 6 stepped inside. The hall instantly became quiet. Not because anyone recognized them, but because the pressure they unconsciously released made everyone instinctively move aside. Ren quietly suppressed his aura. Only then did the guild return to normal. A young receptionist smiled professionally. "Welcome to the Adventurers Guild. Are you here to register as adventurers?" Ren nodded. "We're new to this region. We'd like to understand how everything works first." The receptionist smiled. "Of course." She reached beneath the counter and placed a crystal the size of a fist onto the table. Roger looked at it curiously. "What's that?" The receptionist blinked. "You've never seen an awakening stone." The 6 shook their heads. The receptionist looked surprised but patiently explained. "Every person possesses a status, but it normally remains dormant. The awakening stone awakens it. Once awakened, you'll be able to see your own status panel." Roger scratched his head. Status. Whitebeard frowned. Panel. The receptionist smiled. She had seen people from remote villages react the same way. The status panel records your abilities, your level, your attributes, your skills. It also measures your growth. Sengoku adjusted his glasses. Measures growth. The receptionist nodded. "Of course. How else would anyone know they've become stronger?" Rayleigh exchanged a glance with Garp. Neither of them understood. The receptionist continued. "Once awakened, only you can see your own status panel. No one else can see it unless you willingly share it." Ren's eyes narrowed slightly. "Interesting." The receptionist pushed the crystal slightly forward. "If you'd like, I can awaken your status now." Ren looked at the crystal, then at the others. For a brief moment, none of them spoke. Finally, Ren smiled politely. "Thank you, but we'd like to think about it first." The receptionist nodded. "That's perfectly fine. Whenever you decide, just return." The 6 thanked her and left the guild. Only after they were several streets away did Roger finally speak. "So, that stone can awaken some kind of invisible panel." Whitebeard folded his arms. "And everyone in this world willingly uses it." Sengoku's expression became serious. "Which means, someone must control its distribution." Ren nodded. "Exactly." He stopped walking. "If our status is registered through the guild, then our information enters someone else's system." Roger immediately understood. "And we don't know who can access it." Ren nodded. "We know nothing about this world's rulers. Nothing about their abilities. And nothing about what that status actually records." Whitebeard smiled. "So, what do you suggest?" Ren calmly replied. "We obtain an awakening stone ourselves." Roger grinned. "You mean, steal one?" Ren nodded without hesitation. "Yes. The fewer people who know about us, the safer we are. We'll study the stone ourselves. If it truly only awakens the status, we'll use it privately. If it also records information, we'll find a way to bypass it." Rayleigh smiled. Still the same cautious researcher. Garp laughed. "Ha ha ha. Good. I was worried you'd actually register us." Ren looked back toward the Adventurers Guild. "Until we understand this world's rules, we reveal nothing. We leave no records. We trust no system created by strangers." For the first time since arriving in the new world, the 6 legendary explorers had chosen their first objective. Not hunting monsters, not seeking treasure, but quietly acquiring an awakening stone, without anyone in this world ever realizing it had gone missing. Chapter 133, The Perfect Theft. The 6 legends rented a small house on the edge of the city. That night, a map of the Adventurers Guild lay on the table. Ren had already observed the building with his observation hockey. The awakening stones are stored in the basement. Roger smiled. So we sneak in. Ren shook his head. No, we're stealing. But no one should realize anything was stolen. Whitebeard laughed. Gurararara. That's your family's specialty, isn't it? Ren nodded. Exactly. He pointed to the map. The receptionist uses one stone at a time. The remaining stones stay inside a sealed vault. Sengoku frowned. A vault. Ren nodded. There are no guards inside. Only a magical barrier. Rayleigh looked interested. Can you bypass it? Ren calmly answered. I don't need to. Everyone looked at him. Ren smiled faintly. I'll shorten the distance. The barrier protects the vault. It doesn't protect the space inside it. Roger immediately understood. Ha ha ha. So you'll simply ignore the barrier. Ren nodded. The barrier exists, but the distance between me and the inside of the vault doesn't. Garp laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. I almost forgot. You've been robbing impossible places for years. Ren looked toward everyone. Stay here. I'll return in less than a minute. Roger immediately stood up. I want to watch. Ren shook his head. No. The fewer people outside, the lower the risk. Whitebeard nodded. He's right. Roger reluctantly sat back down. Fine, but hurry. Ren quietly disappeared. The Adventurers Guild. Midnight. The building was completely silent. Only 2 guards remained outside. Neither noticed anything unusual. A faint spatial ripple appeared inside the underground vault. No alarm sounded. No barrier reacted. Ren simply stepped through space itself. Rows upon rows of crystal awakening stones rested inside glass cabinets. Hundreds of them, each glowed with a faint blue light. Ren quietly observed them. So, they mass-produced these. He walked toward the nearest cabinet. Instead of taking an entire box, he only picked up a single awakening stone. Then, he took an ordinary crystal from his foldable space. It was identical in size and shape. Earlier that evening, he had carved every detail into it. Even its magical aura had been imitated by compressing and manipulating the surrounding energy. He gently placed the fake crystal where the original had rested. Not even a tiny gap remained. Ren looked at it one last time. Unless someone actually uses it, no one will notice. The next instant, he disappeared. The barrier never activated. The guards outside never moved. No alarms rang. No evidence remained. Less than a minute later, Ren returned to the house. Everyone looked toward him. Roger immediately asked. So, Ren silently placed a glowing blue crystal on the table. The room became quiet. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. That was fast. Sengoku picked up the crystal. They didn't notice. Ren shook his head. They never will. Roger laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. As expected of the grandson of Garp. Rayleigh looked at the stone with curiosity. So, tomorrow, we finally learn what this status panel really is. Ren nodded. Yes, but before awakening anything, I'll completely analyze this stone. I want to know exactly how it works. If there's even the slightest possibility that it reports our information to someone, I'll remove that function first. The 5 legends nodded. No one objected. After all, they had crossed into another world. The greatest danger was never the enemy they could see. It was the one they didn't even know existed. Chapter 134, 2 weeks of research. Deep inside a dense forest, nearly 10 kilometers away from the city, the 6 built a simple campsite. There was only one large tent, a campfire, and a wooden table covered with strange tools and papers. The stolen awakening stone rested at the center. From that day onward, Ren almost never left the camp. For the next 2 weeks, he completely immersed himself in studying the crystal. Sometimes he would carefully inject tiny amounts of haki into it. Sometimes he would use the strange energy of this world. Sometimes he dismantled the outer shell and reconstructed it again. The other 5 quietly watched. None of them disturbed him. They had already become accustomed to Ren disappearing into research for days. During those 2 weeks, Rayleigh and Sengoku became responsible for gathering information. Among the 6, they were the calmest. Every morning, they entered the city dressed as ordinary travelers. They visited taverns, bookstores, markets, and occasionally the Adventurers Guild. Without drawing attention, they slowly learned about the world's common knowledge. Levels, skills, magic, monsters, kingdoms, guilds, and countless other things. Each evening, they returned and shared everything they had learned. Meanwhile, Roger and Garp had been given a very simple order. Ren looked at the 2 of them before beginning his research. You 2, stay within 2 kilometers of the camp. Roger immediately complained. Only 2 kilometers. Garp laughed. Ha ha ha. Looks like someone doesn't trust us. Ren calmly looked at both of them. I trust you. I don't trust your personalities. Rayleigh immediately nodded. A wise decision. Sengoku sighed. If those 2 wander into the city together, we'll probably have to change countries. Roger scratched his head awkwardly. Quote. We're not that bad. Whitebeard burst into laughter. Gurararara. No one here believes that. Ren looked toward Whitebeard. Your job is watching those 2. Whitebeard smiled broadly. Gurararara. So I'm the babysitter. Roger immediately protested. We're not children. Whitebeard laughed. The moment you two start fighting, you become worse than children. Garp pointed at Roger. He starts it. Roger immediately pointed back. He punched me first. Whitebeard rubbed his forehead. I've only had this job for a minute, and I already understand why Ren assigned it to me. The days passed peacefully. Occasionally, Roger and Garp would argue over something trivial. Whether the best way to cook monster meat was grilling or boiling. Whether Marines or pirates made better explorers. Or who had won more fights in the past. Every single time, before the argument turned into a battle, Whitebeard would step between them. Gurararara, save your strength. We're here to explore another world, not destroy another forest. Thus, the six settled into a quiet routine. Ren researched. Rayleigh and Sengoku gathered information. Whitebeard kept two legendary troublemakers under control. And Roger and Garp somehow managed to stay within 2 kilometers of the camp. At the end of the second week, Ren finally opened his eyes. A faint smile appeared on his face. I understand it now. The Awakening Stone had finally revealed all of its secrets. Chapter 135, The Secret of the Awakening Stone. 2 weeks later, Ren finally put down the Awakening Stone. A faint smile appeared on his face. It's finished. The other 5 immediately gathered around him. Roger smiled. So, what did you discover? Ren picked up the blue crystal. First, this isn't an artificial artifact. It is a naturally formed mineral. Whitebeard raised an eyebrow. A natural stone. Ren nodded. Yes, the stone itself isn't the problem. The problem is what was engraved onto it. He pointed at dozens of microscopic patterns covering the crystal surface. Under normal circumstances, no one could even see them. Only after 2 weeks of research had Ren managed to map every line. Sengoku adjusted his glasses. Formation arrays. Ren nodded. Extremely sophisticated ones. Far more complex than the teleportation arrays left behind from the Void Century. Even he had been surprised. The craftsmanship behind them surpassed anything he had seen in the One Piece world. Rayleigh asked, what did they do? Ren calmly explained. The moment someone awakens their status, a tiny formation activates. It instantly transmits the user's initial status information to another location. Silence. Roger frowned. So, someone is collecting everyone's information. Ren nodded. Exactly. And we still don't know who. Whitebeard crossed his arms. What else? Ren continued. There are also dozens of self-destruction formations. If anyone tried removing the engraved formations, the stone would immediately shatter. Roger whistled. So whoever made these expected people to investigate them. Ren nodded. They prepared for exactly that. Garp laughed. Ha ha ha. Too bad they never expected you. Ren looked at the crystal in his hand. The formations themselves are beyond my current ability to reproduce. They're too complicated. I still don't fully understand how they work. Roger nodded. Then how did you remove them? Ren smiled faintly. I didn't. Everyone looked confused. Ren continued. I controlled them. My devil fruit can manipulate existing formations. I don't need to recreate them. I only need to control their spatial structure. And even if I can't directly manipulate a formation, I can always disconnect its energy source. He lightly tapped the crystal. Every formation requires energy, and every formation must remain connected to something. I simply severed those connections. The transmission formation no longer has an energy supply. It also has nowhere to send information. The self-destruction formations have also been disabled. Sengoku slowly nodded. So now, this is just an ordinary awakening stone. Correct. Ren replied. It can awaken a status, but it can't report anything. And it can't destroy itself. Roger laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. So we stole it for nothing. Ren shook his head. Not quite. He held up the crystal. This stone still has one limitation. It isn't permanent. Roger tilted his head. What limitation? Ren answered. Each awakening stone can only be used 10 times. The group fell silent. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. Convenient. There are only 6 of us. Ren nodded. Exactly. We'll still have 4 uses remaining. He carefully placed the modified awakening stone onto the table. For the first time since arriving in this strange new world, the 6 legends finally possessed a completely safe way to awaken the mysterious status panels, without anyone in this world ever learning they existed. Chapter 136, The First Awakening. The modified awakening stone rested quietly on the wooden table. The 6 legends surrounded it. For a long moment, no one spoke. Roger finally broke the silence. So, who's going first? Everyone instinctively looked toward Ren. Ren shook his head. No, I'll go last. Roger raised an eyebrow. Why? Ren answered calmly. If something unexpected happens, I'll be the one most capable of dealing with it. If I awaken first, and something goes wrong, there won't be anyone left to analyze it. Sengoku nodded. That makes sense. Whitebeard looked toward Garp. So, who's first? Garp immediately grinned. Ha ha ha, I'll do it. Roger laughed. Of course you would. Ren picked up the crystal. The receptionist said, simply place one hand on the awakening stone, and circulate your energy naturally. Garp nodded. Simple enough. He placed his rough hand onto the blue crystal. Nothing happened at first. Then, the awakening stone emitted a soft blue light. Ancient runes slowly floated around Garp's arm. Unlike before, no formation activated. No information was transmitted anywhere. The modified crystal worked exactly as Ren intended. A few seconds later, the light entered Garp's body. The crystal became dim once more. Garp blinked. That's it. Ren looked at him. What happened? Garp scratched his head. I don't know. I feel. Before he finished speaking, a translucent blue screen suddenly appeared before his eyes. Garp instinctively stepped backward. What the hell? Roger immediately stood up. What happened? Garp pointed in front of himself. There's a blue window floating in front of me. Roger looked carefully. I don't see anything. Garp slowly remembered what the receptionist had said. Only I can see it. Ren nodded. As expected, he immediately took out a notebook. Describe everything. Garp carefully looked at the floating screen. It says, status, name, Monkey D. Garp. Roger laughed. Ha ha ha, so they even know your name. Ren calmly replied, the stone probably reads information directly from the soul. Continue. Garp nodded. It also has, race, human. Roger leaned forward with interest. What else? Garp continued reading. Level, Level 1, silence. The forest became completely quiet. Roger blinked. Level 1, Whitebeard frowned. The strongest marine in history. Is level 1. Rayleigh looked toward Ren. That doesn't seem right. Ren wasn't surprised. He simply wrote everything down. As expected, Roger looked at him. You expected this? Ren nodded. If everyone awakens at different times, the system needs a universal starting point. It can't accurately compare people who never possessed a status before. So, it simply assigns everyone. Level 1. Sengoku slowly nodded. Meaning, our actual strength hasn't changed. Ren smiled. Exactly. The status merely begins recording us from this moment onward. Garp continued reading. There are more sections. Attributes. Skills. Titles. Roger's eyes lit up. Read them. Ren raised his hand. Wait. He looked directly at Garp. Read every single word. Nothing is too insignificant. The 6 legends leaned closer. For the first time, they were about to witness the mysterious status panel that governed this entirely different world. Chapter 137, the first status. Garp carefully looked at the translucent blue panel floating before him. Ren had already opened his notebook. Read everything, exactly as it appears. Garp nodded, then slowly began reading. Status. Name, Monkey D. Garp. Race, human. Age, 78. Level, 1. Class, none. Titles. Hero of the Marines * Monster of the Old Era * King Class Conqueror World Explorer. Attributes. Strength, 980. Agility, 970. Constitution, 999. Vitality, 990. Spirit, 997. Mana, 0. Luck, 58. Silence filled the forest. Roger scratched his head. That's all. Garp looked again. For the first page, Ren immediately wrote everything down. Then he looked up. As expected, Roger frowned. What do you mean? Ren pointed at the notebook. Our history has been recognized. Roger looked confused. The titles. Ren nodded. Hero of the Marines, Monster of the Old Era, King Class Conqueror. Those are achievements earned in our own world. But, he pointed at the final title. World Explorer. That one only appeared after we crossed the world boundary. Rayleigh nodded slowly. So merely arriving here granted us a title. Whitebeard folded his arms. Interesting. Sengoku adjusted his glasses. What about the attributes? Ren replied. They're more useful. He looked toward Garp. Strength, agility, constitution, vitality, spirit. They're almost exactly what I expected. Roger laughed. Ha ha ha. Garp's constitution is almost at 1,000. Garp grinned. As it should be. Whitebeard smiled. Garararara. Mine should be even higher. Garp immediately pointed at him. Don't start. Roger laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. They're competing already. Ren ignored them. Instead, his attention stopped at one particular line. Mana. 0. Everyone looked toward him. Roger tilted his head. Isn't that obvious? We've never used magic. Ren slowly shook his head. No, not obvious. If mana were something naturally possessed by every living creature, we should have had at least a small amount. But, he pointed at the notebook. We have none, which means, this world's magic system is completely separate from our world's power system. Sengoku nodded. So Haki isn't considered mana. Correct, Ren answered. They're different energies. Rayleigh crossed his arms. Then perhaps, we can cultivate both. Ren smiled faintly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Whitebeard laughed. Garararara. So instead of replacing our strength, we're gaining another path. Ren nodded. If that's true, our potential in this world may be even greater than I expected. Roger suddenly pointed at the final attribute. What about luck? Ren looked at the number. 58. After thinking for a moment, he answered, without comparison, it doesn't mean much. We'll know more after everyone awakens. Garp closed the panel. The blue screen instantly disappeared. So, who's next? Roger immediately raised his hand. Ha ha ha, my turn. Ren smiled. Good. The more data we collect, the faster we'll understand this world system. Chapter 138, The Pirate King Status. Roger eagerly stepped forward. Ha ha ha, my turn. Ren picked up the modified awakening stone and placed it on the table. Same procedure. Place your hand on it. Roger immediately did so. The awakening stone emitted a gentle blue glow. Ancient runes circled around his arm before flowing into his body. A few seconds later, the light faded. Roger blinked. So this is the status panel. A translucent blue screen appeared before his eyes. Ren immediately opened his notebook. Read everything. Roger smiled. Let's see what this world thinks of the Pirate King. He began reading. Status. Name. Gal D. Roger. Race. Human. Age. 53. Level. 1. Class. None. Titles. Pirate King * Conqueror of the Grand Line * Monster of the Old Era * King Class Conqueror World Explorer. Attributes. Strength. 986. Agility. 995. Constitution. 982. Vitality. 985. Spirit. 999. Mana. 0. Luck. 99. The campsite fell silent. Roger blinked. Quote. 99 luck. Garp immediately laughed. Ha ha ha, even the system knows you're ridiculously lucky. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara, you found the final island before anyone else. You were born with monstrous luck. Rayleigh nodded. And half your adventure succeeded because fortune smiled on you. Roger scratched his head. I can't even argue with that. Ren quietly wrote everything down. Then he compared Roger's status with Garp's. As expected, Sengoku looked over. What did you find? Ren pointed at the notebook. Garp surpasses Roger in constitution and vitality. Roger surpasses Garp in agility and spirit. Roger grinned. So the system can actually distinguish our specialties. Ren nodded. It isn't assigning numbers randomly. It evaluates our actual capabilities. He tapped the page thoughtfully. The interesting part is spirit. Rayleigh asked. What about it? Ren answered. Roger's spirit is the highest we've seen. 999. I suspect it doesn't simply represent mental strength. It may also measure willpower. Or perhaps even the quality of one's soul. Roger laughed. Ha ha ha, so my soul scored full marks. Garp snorted. Don't get carried away. Whitebeard folded his arms. The more interesting question is why none of us have a class. Ren nodded. I noticed that too. In this world, classes probably aren't innate, they're acquired. Sengoku agreed, which would explain why every awakened person starts the same. Level 1. No class. Ren closed his notebook. So far, the system has confirmed 3 things. First, it recognizes our achievements from another world. Second, it evaluates our true physical abilities. And third, it doesn't interfere with our existing power. He looked at the remaining 4 legends. We still have 4 more awakenings. The more data we gather, the closer we'll come to understanding how this world system truly works. Roger dismissed his status panel with a thought. The blue screen disappeared instantly. He smiled at Whitebeard. Ha ha ha, your turn, Newgate. Whitebeard stepped forward with a grin. Gurararara, let's see whether this world system truly knows who the strongest man is. Chapter 139, The World's Strongest Man. Whitebeard stepped toward the table. His massive shadow covered the awakening stone. Gurararara, let's see whether this world system truly understands strength. Ren nodded. Place your hand on the stone. Whitebeard calmly rested one hand on the crystal. The awakening stone immediately shone brighter than before. Blue runes flowed around his arm before entering his body. A few moments later, a translucent blue panel appeared before his eyes. Whitebeard smiled. So this is the status. Ren picked up his notebook. Read everything. Whitebeard began reading. Status. Name. Edward Newgate. Race. Human. Age. 72. Level. 1. Class. None. Titles. World's Strongest Man * Emperor of the Sea * Monster of the Old Era * King Class Conqueror World Explorer. Attributes. Strength. 999. Agility. 958. Constitution. 999. Vitality. 999. Spirit. 992. Mana. 0. Luck. 72. Silence filled the campsite. Roger immediately burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, I knew it. The old beard really reached the limit. Garp folded his arms. TCH. As expected, Ren carefully compared Whitebeard's status with the previous 2. As I thought. Sengoku looked over. What did you find? Ren pointed at the notebook. Whitebeard has reached the apparent maximum in 3 attributes. Strength, Constitution, and Vitality. Roger grinned. So, he really is the strongest physically. Whitebeard laughed proudly. Garararara. I've spent my entire life training this body. It would be strange if I weren't. Rayleigh smiled. The system's evaluation is surprisingly accurate. Ren nodded. It isn't measuring fame, it's measuring reality. He continued writing. Garp possesses greater endurance than Roger. Roger possesses greater agility. And Whitebeard possesses the greatest raw physical power. Sengoku adjusted his glasses. So, the limit appears to be 999. Ren shook his head. Not necessarily. Roger looked at him. Why? Ren calmly answered. We've only confirmed that the system displays 3 digits. We haven't confirmed that 999 is the true limit. It may simply be the highest value it is willing to show. The others nodded. That possibility made sense. Whitebeard dismissed his status panel. So, who's next? Rayleigh smiled faintly. I'll go. He stepped toward the awakening stone. The group watched quietly. The status of the Dark King was about to be revealed. Chapter 140, The Dark King's Status. Rayleigh stepped forward. He looked at the awakening stone with curiosity. I've spent my whole life understanding hockey. And now, I'm about to learn how another world evaluates strength. Ren nodded. Go ahead. Rayleigh gently placed his hand on the awakening stone. The crystal glowed with a soft blue light. Ancient runes circled around his arm before flowing into his body. A few seconds later, the light disappeared. A translucent blue panel appeared before Rayleigh's eyes. He smiled faintly. So this is the status panel. Ren opened his notebook. Read everything. Rayleigh nodded. He slowly began. Status. Name. Silvers Rayleigh. Race. Human. Age. 78. Level. 1. Class. None. Titles. Dark King * right hand of the Pirate King * monster of the old era * King class conqueror world explorer. Attributes. Strength. 975. Agility. 999. Constitution. 972. Vitality. 968. Spirit. 998. Mana. 0. Luck. 81. Roger immediately laughed. Ha ha ha, I knew your agility would be higher than mine. Rayleigh smiled. I've always relied more on speed than brute force. Whitebeard crossed his arms. And your spirit is almost at the limit. Rayleigh nodded. Years of mastering hockey probably affected it. Ren carefully compared Rayleigh's status with the others. As expected, Sengoku looked over. What did you find this time? Ren pointed to the notebook. So far, every person's highest attribute matches the way they fought. He continued. Garp's greatest quality is his indestructible body. Roger possesses overwhelming will and extraordinary speed. Whitebeard dominates raw physical power. And Rayleigh has reached the apparent limit in agility. Roger grinned. So the system really understands combat styles. Ren nodded. It evaluates reality. It doesn't assign numbers based on reputation. Rayleigh dismissed his status panel. I noticed something. Everyone looked toward him. My status has no section for hockey. The campsite fell silent. Ren immediately became interested. You're right. He quickly reviewed the notes from Garp, Roger, and Whitebeard. None of their panels mentioned hockey. Only physical attributes. Spirit, mana, luck, nothing else. Sengoku frowned. So, hockey isn't treated as a separate ability. Ren thought for a moment before answering. It may already be included under spirit. Or, this world's system simply doesn't recognize hockey as one of its native powers. Roger smiled. Ha ha ha, which means, our greatest weapon still belongs only to us. Ren nodded. That's a possibility. He closed his notebook. So far, we've confirmed another important fact. This world's status panel doesn't fully understand the power system of our world. The group fell silent. That discovery was perhaps even more valuable than the attributes themselves. Only one person remained to awaken before Ren. Sengoku quietly stepped forward. It seems. ... I'm next. Chapter 141, The Buddha's Status. Sengoku stepped toward the awakening stone. He looked at Ren. If the status panel truly evaluates reality, I'm curious how it judges a mythical zone. Ren nodded. So am I. Sengoku placed his hand on the awakening stone. The crystal emitted its familiar blue glow. Ancient runes circled around his arm before flowing into his body. A few seconds later, the light disappeared. A translucent blue panel appeared before Sengoku's eyes. He quietly read it for a moment. Ren opened his notebook. Please read everything. Sengoku nodded. He began. Status. Name. Sengoku. Race. Human. Age. 79. Level. 1. Class. None. Titles. Fleet Admiral * Buddha * monster of the old era * King class conqueror world explorer. Attributes. Strength. 988. Agility. 965. Constitution. 985. Vitality. 982. Spirit. 999. Mana. 0. Luck. 69. The forest became quiet once again. Roger smiled. Ha ha ha, so your spirit reached the limit too. Whitebeard nodded. As expected, the calmest mind among us. Garp crossed his arms. TCH. That old goat always overthinks everything. Sengoku adjusted his glasses. I'll take that as a compliment. Ren compared all 5 status panels side by side. After several minutes, he closed the notebook. "I've found a pattern." Everyone looked at him. Ren spoke calmly. "The attribute that reaches its peak always represents what defines that person the most." He pointed at each page. Garp, an indestructible body. Roger, an unconquerable spirit and extraordinary talent. Whitebeard, the strongest body in the world. Rayleigh, supreme speed and precision. Finally, he looked at Sengoku. "And you, the greatest strength recognized by the system, is your mind." Sengoku slowly nodded. "My spirit reached 999. Ren continued. "I don't think spirit represents only willpower. It likely measures several things together. Mental strength, soul, haki potential, comprehension, and perhaps, the ability to understand laws." Rayleigh nodded thoughtfully. "That would explain why the highest values differ." Roger scratched his chin. "So, the system isn't trying to make everyone the same. It's identifying what each person excels at." "Exactly," Ren replied. Whitebeard suddenly asked, "Then what about you?" The group fell silent. All eyes turned toward Ren. Roger grinned. "Ha ha ha, after researching this thing for 2 weeks. It's finally your turn." Garp laughed. "I've been waiting to see this." Ren looked at the awakening stone resting on the table. He had crossed worlds, liberated his devil fruit, mastered spatial laws, and revived the Pirate King. Even he didn't know how this world system would judge him. Without another word, Ren slowly reached out his hand toward the awakening stone. Chapter 142, Beyond the World's Limit. The campsite fell silent. Ren looked at the awakening stone for several moments. Then, he slowly placed his hand upon it. The crystal shone brighter than it had for anyone else. Blue runes surrounded his arm. Unlike the previous awakenings, the light remained for nearly an entire minute. Even the awakening stone itself began vibrating. Finally, the light entered Ren's body. A translucent blue panel slowly unfolded before his eyes. Ren quietly read it. For the first time, his calm expression showed surprise. Roger immediately noticed. "What is it?" Ren looked up. "This world doesn't limit the numbers." Everyone stared at him. He slowly began reading. Status. Name, Monkey D. Ren. Race, human. Age, 22. Level, 1. Class, none. Titles. World Explorer * Liberated 1 * Researcher * Grandson of Marine Hero Garp Most Wanted Thief. Attributes. Strength, 1003. Agility, 1000. Constitution, 1002. Vitality, 999. Spirit, 1010. Mana, 0. Luck, 54. Silence. Complete silence. Roger looked at Ren, then at his own notebook. Then back at Ren. Over 1,000. Whitebeard frowned. 1010 spirit. Rayleigh slowly took a deep breath. So, 999, was never the system's limit. Ren nodded. It wasn't. Sengoku immediately understood. He adjusted his glasses. It was our world's limit. Everyone looked toward him. Sengoku continued. In our world, no matter how talented someone was, no one could naturally surpass that boundary. 999 wasn't the system's ceiling. It was the ceiling of our world. Roger's eyes widened. And Ren already broke it before coming here. Garp laughed proudly. "Ha ha ha, I told you. My grandson stopped being normal a long time ago." Whitebeard looked at Ren. "So that's what, liberated 1, means." Ren nodded. "I liberated my devil fruit. But," he looked back at his status panel, "I also unknowingly broke the natural limits of our own world." Rayleigh smiled. "So the system isn't exaggerating. It's simply recording reality." Ren nodded again. "Exactly." Roger laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha, and here I thought I was impressive. You've already crossed into a realm our world couldn't even measure." Ren dismissed the status panel. The blue screen disappeared. He remained silent for a moment before speaking. "The most important discovery isn't my attributes." Everyone looked at him. Ren smiled faintly. "Our limits are gone." He pointed toward the distant mountains beyond the forest. "This world doesn't suppress us like our own did. The bottleneck that stopped all of us no longer exists." Whitebeard's eyes gleamed. "So, I can become stronger again." Ren nodded. "Grandpa, you can. Roger, you can. Rayleigh, you can. Sengoku, you can. And so can I." For a long moment, the 6 legends simply stood there. They had reached the summit of their own world. They believed there was nowhere left to climb. Yet now, another world had shown them the truth. The summit they once reached had only been the beginning. Chapter 143, Understanding the New World. After everyone had calmed down, Sengoku opened another notebook. "During the past 2 weeks, Rayleigh and I gathered quite a bit of information." Rayleigh nodded. "We now have a basic understanding of this world." Everyone sat around the campfire. Sengoku began. "First, humans are not the only intelligent race. There are beastmen, elves, dwarves, and several other races. They all possess their own kingdoms and civilizations." Whitebeard nodded. "We already saw some of them in the city." Rayleigh continued. "The second point, people in this world grow stronger by hunting monsters. They gain levels after killing them. Roger scratched his head. So, they don't train. Rayleigh shook his head. They do. But training mainly improves skill. The greatest increase in raw strength comes from leveling up. Ren quietly wrote everything down. Sengoku continued. The third point. This world possesses professions. There are ordinary combat professions. He began listing them. Swordsman, knight, tank, mage, priest, archer, assassin, and many others. He turned another page. There are also daily life professions. Blacksmith, farmer, doctor, scholar, merchant, alchemist. Roger blinked. So, everyone chooses a profession. Rayleigh nodded. Yes, but according to the guild, there are also hidden classes, unique classes, and legendary classes. However, almost nobody has ever seen them. Whitebeard smiled. So they're extremely rare. Exactly. Sengoku continued. The fourth point. This world's strong people rely heavily on mana. He looked toward Ren. We have confirmed that mana is the foundation of almost every profession. Mages naturally possess enormous amounts. Priests use it for healing. Knights use it to strengthen their bodies. Even ordinary swordsmen reinforce themselves with mana. Garp looked at his own status. And we have 0. Ren nodded. For now. Sengoku turned another page. The fifth point concerns attributes. In ordinary professions, each level grants 10 attribute points. Roger raised an eyebrow. They choose where to place them. Rayleigh shook his head. No, the allocation is automatic. It depends entirely on the profession. He gave several examples. A swordsman's strength and agility increase the fastest. A mage's spirit increases the most. An archer specializes in agility. A tank gains mostly constitution and strength. A priest focuses on spirit and vitality. Ren immediately understood. So, the profession itself determines one's growth. Rayleigh nodded. Exactly. Whitebeard folded his arms. Unlike us. Sengoku agreed. Our attributes are naturally balanced. He looked at his notes. According to the information we gathered, a level 100 swordsman may possess over 700 strength, but the other attributes will be much lower. The same applies to every profession. No one develops evenly. Ren quietly nodded. So specialized growth. Rayleigh continued. The same principle applies to monsters. They also possess specialized attributes. Different races receive different innate talents from birth. Some are naturally stronger. Some possess natural magic. Others have unique racial abilities. Roger asked. Then does anyone have balanced attributes like ours? Rayleigh smiled. According to the stories, only legendary monsters. They're said to possess balanced attributes in every field. The campsite became quiet. Ren carefully noted that information. Sengoku turned to the final page. Lastly, there are no confirmed records of anyone exceeding level 100. Roger frowned. So that's the world's limit. Sengoku shook his head. We don't know. The people we questioned all said the same thing. This region is too weak to produce even a level 60 individual. The strongest adventurers here are only around level 50. Whitebeard laughed. Gurararara. So we arrived in the countryside. Rayleigh smiled. It would seem so. Sengoku spoke one final time. There's one more major difference. In this world, battles rarely last more than half a day. Roger looked surprised. Half a day. Rayleigh nodded. Most battles are decided within hours. They don't understand prolonged wars. He looked toward Garp and Whitebeard. If we told them that monsters from our world fought continuously for 3 days and 3 nights, they would probably think we were lying. Roger laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. They'd probably faint if they saw Garp and me fighting seriously. Ren closed his notebook. We've learned enough. Everyone looked toward him. This world possesses an excellent growth system. But, he looked at everyone's status panels. The people here rely too much on levels. They've forgotten how to push beyond their own limits. He smiled faintly. And that is something our world never lacked. Chapter 144, a class that shouldn't exist. That evening, the 6 sat around the campfire. Each of them opened their status panel again. Their attention was fixed on one section. Class. At the moment, it was still blank. Roger scratched his head. So, what class should I choose? Whitebeard laughed. Gurararara. I certainly won't become a mage. Garp grinned. I don't even know how to use mana. Grandpa Sengoku adjusted his glasses. We shouldn't decide hastily. This choice may affect our future growth. Ren nodded. Grandpa Sengoku is right. We should understand every option before choosing. Rayleigh quietly studied his status panel. Unlike the others, he carefully read every line. Suddenly, his expression changed. That's strange. Everyone looked toward him. What happened? Rayleigh continued staring at the blue screen. A new class just appeared. Roger blinked. A new class. What is it called? Rayleigh slowly read the words. Warrior of the Sea. Silence. Ren immediately opened his own status panel. His eyes narrowed. The same class had appeared. Roger hurriedly checked his own. So did mine. Whitebeard looked surprised. I have it too. Sengoku nodded. So do I. Garp laughed. Ha ha ha. Mine too. For several moments, no one spoke. The 6 legends all possessed a class. that Rayleigh and Sengoku had never heard of during their 2 weeks of investigation. Ren calmly asked, "Grandpa Sengoku, did anyone in the city ever mention this class?" Sengoku immediately shook his head. "Never, not once." Rayleigh added, "I also searched through the guild's public records. There wasn't a single mention of it." Roger smiled. "So, it's a hidden class." Ren shook his head. "I don't think so." Whitebeard frowned. "Why?" Ren looked at the 6 identical status panels. "If it were a hidden class, it shouldn't appear simultaneously for all 6 of us." Roger nodded. "That's true." Ren thought quietly. Then, a possibility crossed his mind. His eyes widened slightly. "I understand." Everyone immediately looked toward him. "What is it?" Ren slowly closed his status panel. "I don't think this class existed before." The others were stunned. Roger laughed. "Ha ha ha, what do you mean it didn't exist?" Ren calmly explained. "The status system evaluated all 6 of us. It compared our abilities, our history, our power system, and our way of fighting." He paused for a moment, then finished his conclusion. "The system couldn't classify us using any existing class, so it created a new one." Silence. Complete silence. Rayleigh slowly nodded. "Taking us as the template." Ren smiled faintly. "Exactly. The class wasn't waiting for us. It was born because of us." Whitebeard laughed loudly. "Gurararara. So we've become the founders of an entirely new profession." Roger burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha, I like this world more and more." Grandpa Sengoku looked thoughtfully at his status panel. "If Ren is correct, then this class should preserve our balanced growth, instead of forcing us into one specialization." Ren nodded. "That is my guess, but we won't know for certain until one of us accepts it." The 6 looked at the glowing words on their status panels. Warrior of the Sea, a class that had never existed in this world until 6 explorers crossed the boundary between worlds. Chapter 145, Choosing the Unknown. The campsite fell silent once again. The words Warrior of the Sea floated quietly before each of them. No one pressed the confirmation button. Ren looked at everyone. "Don't accept it yet." Roger looked confused. "Why?" Ren pointed toward the glowing words. "We know almost nothing about this class. It was just created. If accepting it permanently changes our bodies, we should understand it first." Grandpa Sengoku nodded. "I agree. We've been cautious since entering this world. We shouldn't become careless now." Whitebeard laughed. "Gurararara. Then how do we inspect it?" Rayleigh quietly touched the class name. Immediately, a description window appeared. Everyone hurriedly opened theirs. The words were identical. Legendary class. Warrior of the Sea. Requirements. Arrive from another world. Master a power system not recognized by this world's status system. Reach or surpass the natural limits of your original world. Class description. A warrior who stands above the sea itself. Asterisk. Those who walk this path reject specialization. Asterisk. Every attribute grows equally. Asterisk. The class evolves alongside its owner. Asterisk. No fixed upper limit. Asterisk. Future evolutions depend entirely on the user's achievements. Asterisk. The forest became completely quiet. Roger slowly scratched his head. Quote. No fixed upper limit. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. I like those words. Rayleigh looked thoughtful. The class evolves alongside its owner. I've never heard of such a thing. Grandpa Sengoku adjusted his glasses. This confirms Ren's theory. The class truly didn't exist before. It was created specifically for us. Ren nodded. The description says, future evolutions depend on the user's achievements. That means, the class itself is incomplete. Roger laughed. Ha ha ha, so we're still creating it. Ren smiled faintly. Exactly. We are both the first users and the founders. Whitebeard crossed his arms. The balanced growth suits us. Our fighting style has never relied on one attribute. Sengoku nodded. A mage would waste our physical abilities. A tank would waste our spirit. A swordsman would neglect constitution. This class avoids all of those weaknesses. Rayleigh added. And unlike ordinary professions, it doesn't appear to force mana into becoming our primary power. Ren looked at the description one final time. The status system reached an interesting conclusion. Roger raised an eyebrow. What conclusion? Ren calmly answered. It doesn't consider hockey or devil fruits to be inferior. It simply couldn't classify them. So instead of forcing us into its own system, it adapted. It created a class capable of growing alongside our own power. The others slowly nodded. That explanation matched everything they had observed. Roger suddenly grinned. So, when do we accept it? Ren looked toward the rising sun. Tomorrow. Tonight. I'll study every word of this description. If there are no hidden risks, we'll all become the first warriors of the sea. Beyond the campsite, the forest remained peaceful. None of the people in this world knew that the status system itself had just rewritten one of its own rules. Chapter 146, The First Warriors of the Sea. The next morning, the 6 legends stood together in front of the campsite. Each of them opened their status panel. The words, Warrior of the Sea, waited quietly. Ren looked around. Everyone ready? Roger grinned. Ha ha ha, let's see what kind of class we created. Without another word, the 6 pressed accept at the same time. A pillar of blue light descended upon each of them. The light lasted only a few seconds. Then, their status panels changed. Class, Warrior of the Sea, Legendary. At the same moment, each of them felt a strange warmth spread throughout their bodies. It wasn't hockey, nor was it mana. It was the status system recognizing their existence. A new notification appeared. Congratulations. Unique legendary class acquired. Growth pattern updated. Roger blinked. So that's it. Ren shook his head. No, look carefully. Roger opened his status again. A new line had appeared beneath the attributes. Attribute growth per level. Strength 2. Agility 2. Constitution 2. Vitality 2. Spirit 2. Whitebeard laughed loudly. Gurararara. Perfect. Balanced growth. Grandpa Sengoku nodded. So every level still grants 10 attribute points. But they're automatically distributed equally. Rayleigh smiled. It truly is a class made for us. Ren carefully studied every line. Then, a faint smile appeared on his face. I've found another difference. Everyone looked toward him. The status system only controls the attribute points gained from leveling. Roger tilted his head. What do you mean? Ren clenched his fist. Our original training methods still work. He picked up a massive boulder lying nearby. Then casually lifted it with one hand. A few minutes later, he reopened his status panel. His strength had increased by 1 point. Roger's eyes widened. It increased. Ren nodded. Just as I expected. Our bodies haven't changed. We can still improve naturally. Whitebeard laughed. Gurararara. So we aren't slaves to levels. Grandpa Sengoku immediately understood. Ordinary people in this world depend almost entirely on leveling. But we can level up and train at the same time. Ren nodded. Exactly. The 10 points per level are merely a bonus. Our real foundation is still our own training. Rayleigh smiled. So, the harder we train, the greater the advantage over everyone else. Ren continued. There's only one requirement. Roger asked. What? Ren pointed toward the remains of yesterday's Sea King meat. Food. Our training still consumes enormous amounts of energy. If we continue training the way we did in our world, we'll need equally enormous amounts of nutrition. Whitebeard laughed. Gurararara. That's the easiest problem to solve. He lifted his bisinto. This forest is full of monsters. Roger cracked his knuckles. Ha ha ha. Looks like we're hunting again. Garp grinned. I was getting bored anyway. Ren smiled faintly. Then let's begin. We'll train, hunt monsters, and level up. For the first time, we can combine 2 completely different paths of cultivation. He looked toward the endless forest. A smile slowly appeared on his face. This world's people believe levels are everything. They're about to witness what happens when people who trained their bodies to the limit also gain the power of the status system. Chapter 147, The Southern Monster Tide. After accepting the Warrior of the Sea class, the 6 sat around the campfire once more. Ren spread out the rough map that Rayleigh and Grandpa Sengoku had drawn during the past 2 weeks. He looked toward everyone. We should leave this place. Roger looked up. So soon? Ren nodded. There's no point staying. The monsters around this city are too weak. They're suitable for ordinary adventurers. But not for us. He pointed toward their status panels. Our real strength can easily kill monsters around level 100. On top of that, we possess balanced attributes. Even without mana, our physical abilities alone far exceed what this region can handle. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. Fighting goblins and wolves would only waste time. Grandpa Sengoku nodded. Ren is right. Remaining here will barely increase our levels. Rayleigh unfolded another map. Fortunately, we found an interesting place. He pointed toward the south. About 2,000 kilometers from here. Roger leaned over. What's there? Sengoku answered. A massive monster tide. The local kingdoms have been discussing it for weeks. Rayleigh continued. According to the rumors, the outer edge of the tide contains monsters around level 100. The deeper regions are believed to contain monsters between level 120 and level 150. Roger's eyes immediately lit up. Ha ha ha, now that sounds interesting. Garp cracked his knuckles. Finally, I was getting tired of holding back. Whitebeard laughed. Gurararara. A proper battlefield. Grandpa Sengoku looked at Ren. If the information is accurate, we can accomplish 2 things there. Level up, and experience our first true battle against this world's strongest monsters. Ren nodded. Exactly. He thought for a moment before continuing. However, we'll avoid the nearby kingdoms. Roger looked puzzled. Why? Ren calmly explained. If 6 unknown people suddenly slaughter a monster tide, we'll immediately attract every major force in this world. We came here to explore, not announce our existence. Rayleigh smiled. So we'll enter from the rear. Ren nodded. We'll bypass the human defenses and hunt the strongest monsters directly. Grandpa Sengoku looked at the map. That also prevents anyone from observing our abilities. Whitebeard rested his bisinto on his shoulder. Gurararara. Good. I've been wanting to see whether monsters from another world can withstand my punches. Garp laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. If they survive yours, they still have to survive mine. Roger stood up excitedly. So what are we waiting for? Ren smiled faintly. The journey will take several days. He folded the map. Let's go. The southern monster tide will become the first battlefield. And the first test for the warriors of the sea. The 6 legends packed their camp. A few moments later, they disappeared into the southern forest, completely unaware that the monster tide, terrifying countless kingdoms, was about to face 6 warriors who had already stood at the pinnacle of another world. Chapter 148, A Journey of Discovery. The 6 traveled south through the endless wilderness. Unlike ordinary adventurers, they didn't follow roads, nor did they avoid dangerous forests. They simply walked in a straight line. Mountains, rivers, and cliffs. None of them slowed the group. Whenever they encountered a mountain, Garp simply punched a path through it. Whenever they reached a river, Ren shortened the distance across it. Roger laughed the entire way. Ha ha ha, this world is much bigger than ours. Rayleigh nodded. The concentration of natural energy is also much higher. As they continued traveling, Grandpa Sengoku constantly compared the information they had gathered with reality. The forests are denser, the monsters are stronger, and even ordinary wild beasts possess traces of mana. Ren quietly observed everything. Unlike the others, he wasn't focused on the scenery. He was studying the world itself. Its gravity, its space, its natural laws. After several days, he finally spoke. I've confirmed something. Everyone looked toward him. Our world was much more stable. Roger tilted his head. What do you mean? Ren pointed toward the surrounding forest. The space here is easier to disturb. The natural energy constantly flows through everything. Even rocks contain traces of mana. Grandpa Sengoku nodded. That explains why everyone here can eventually learn magic. Ren continued. Our world chose stability. This world chose growth. Whitebeard smiled. So, the world's laws themselves encourage becoming stronger. Ren nodded. Exactly. Which is probably why their status system exists. Rayleigh suddenly stopped walking. There, everyone looked ahead. Several kilometers away, a giant wolf-like monster was hunting a herd of deer. Its body was nearly 6 meters long. Blue mana flowed beneath its skin. Roger grinned. Our first monster. Grandpa Sengoku shook his head. Its mana isn't very strong. It should only be around level 40. Ren glanced at it briefly before continuing to walk. Ignore it. Roger looked disappointed. We're not fighting. Ren shook his head. It won't even grant meaningful experience. Our goal is the monster tide. Whitebeard laughed. Gurararara. Leave the small prey alone. We're hunting kings. The giant wolf suddenly sensed the 6. It growled, but instinct immediately screamed at it to flee. Without hesitation, it turned around and escaped deeper into the forest. Roger blinked. It ran. Rayleigh smiled. Animals have good instincts. They know when they're facing predators. Garp laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. Looks like even monsters know better than to challenge us. The group continued south without slowing. 3 more days passed. The farther south they traveled, the stronger the monsters became. Level 50, level 60, occasionally, even a level 70 monster appeared. None dared attack. Every creature instinctively avoided the 6 terrifying newcomers. Finally, on the evening of the 7th day, a distant roar shook the earth. R-O-O-O-O-O-A-A-A-R-R-R. Another answered. Then another. Thousands of roars echoed across the horizon. The ground trembled continuously. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. We've arrived. Rayleigh climbed a nearby cliff and looked into the distance. Even he was momentarily stunned. Beyond the mountains, as far as the eye could see, countless monsters covered the plains. The monster tide had finally appeared, and somewhere within that endless sea of beasts waited monsters, powerful enough to become the first worthy opponents of the warriors of the sea. Chapter 149, The 6th Descent. The endless monster tide stretched across the plains. Thousands upon thousands of monsters roared. Level 100 beasts dominated the outer region. Deeper inside, even stronger presences silently watched. The 6 stood atop a cliff overlooking the battlefield. Not a single one showed fear. Ren looked toward the endless sea of monsters. Remember, we're here to test our strength. Don't reveal everything at once. Roger laughed. Ha ha ha, I'll try. Garp grinned. No promises. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. Let's begin. One after another, the 6 released their haki. Boom. An invisible pressure swept across the plains. Thousands of monsters froze. Some weaker beasts collapsed instantly. The sky itself seemed to darken beneath the overwhelming will of 6 supreme conquerors. Dark lightning danced wildly through the air. Ren quietly coated his body in armament haki. Black patterns flowed over his arms like liquid steel. Roger did the same. His saber crackled with black lightning. Rayleigh slowly drew his sword. The blade hummed as armament and conqueror's haki intertwined around it. Whitebeard rested his bisinto on his shoulder. Dark lightning exploded from its blade. Every swing distorted the surrounding air. Meanwhile, Garp simply raised his fists. His entire body became wrapped in dense black armament haki. Conqueror's haki flowed around him like invisible armor. Beside him, Grandpa Sengoku entered his Buddha form. Golden light covered his gigantic body. Yet beneath the golden glow, layers of black haki wrapped around him. The pressure became almost unbearable. Ren smiled faintly. Let's see how strong another world's monsters really are. The next instant, all 6 disappeared. Boom! The cliff beneath their feet shattered. Like 6 meteors, they shot toward the center of the level 100 monster horde. The monsters finally reacted. Roars shook the plains. Some charged, others prepared magic. It was too late. Boom! The 6 landed simultaneously. Each impact carved out an enormous crater. The ground split apart for hundreds of meters. Shockwaves rolled through the battlefield. Dozens of nearby level 100 monsters were blown away before anyone had thrown a single attack. Some crashed into distant hills. Others were buried beneath the collapsing earth. The weakest among them nearly died from the impact alone. Silence lasted only a heartbeat. Then, every monster within sight turned toward the 6 intruders. Thousands of killing intents locked onto them. Roger slowly stood from his crater. He looked around at the endless tide of monsters. A wide grin spread across his face. Ha ha ha, now, this feels like an adventure. Whitebeard lifted his bisinto. Gurararara, come, show me the strength of this world. Garp cracked his neck. I haven't had a proper warm-up in days. Sengoku calmly observed the charging monsters. They're well coordinated. They're much more intelligent than Sea Kings. Ren drew his black blade. The surrounding space rippled slightly. He looked toward the endless monster tide. Let's begin. The first wave of level 100 monsters charged from every direction. The first true battle, between the warriors of the sea and the strongest monsters of another world, had finally begun. Chapter 150, The First Harvest. The monster tide erupted. Thousands of level 100 monsters charged simultaneously. The earth shook beneath countless footsteps. Fireballs, wind blades, lightning, ice spears, hundreds of spells covered the sky. Roger laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, so this is mana. Without dodging, he swung his sword once. A black crescent slash, coated in armament and conqueror's haki, tore through the battlefield. The incoming magic shattered before reaching him. The slash continued forward, splitting hundreds of monsters in two. Whitebeard stepped forward. He didn't even use his tremor fruit. He simply swung his bisinto. Boom! A wall of compressed haki swept across the plains. Everything in its path exploded. Dozens of monsters were sent flying. Some died before they even landed. Gurararara, so fragile. Garp chose the simplest method. He punched. Nothing more. The air itself exploded. The shockwave crushed every monster directly ahead. Hundreds were blasted into the sky. Ha ha ha, this is more like it. Grandpa Sengoku calmly raised one palm. Even without using mana, his gigantic Buddha body radiated overwhelming pressure. A haki-coated shockwave burst outward. The front ranks of monsters collapsed instantly. They possess power, but very little combat experience. Rayleigh vanished. No one saw him move. Only silver flashes appeared across the battlefield. A second later, hundreds of monsters froze. Thin lines appeared across their bodies. Then, they all split apart at once. Roger whistled, still as precise as ever. Ren stood completely still. He watched, observed, analyzed. The monsters fought using mana instinctively. Their bodies relied on it for strength. Even their natural regeneration was fueled by mana. So, this is how monsters fight. Only after understanding enough, did Ren move. One step, he appeared inside the densest part of the monster tide. His black blade slowly descended. There was no sword light. No explosion. Only a single silent slash. The space before him folded. Everything within several hundred meters. Monsters, magic, even the ground, split apart together. The battlefield became silent. Roger blinked. Quote. You cut space again. Ren nodded. I'm testing whether mana can resist spatial severance. Grandpa Sengoku asked. The result? Ren calmly answered. It can't. Just then, 6 blue windows appeared before them simultaneously. Level up. Level 2 reached. 10 attributes automatically allocated. Roger laughed. Ha ha ha, so this is leveling. Another notification appeared. Level up. Level 3 reached. Then another. Level up. Level 4 reached. The monsters continued charging without fear. But every wave disappeared just as quickly. Within less than half an hour, thousands of level 100 monsters had fallen. The 6 legends finally stopped. Not because they were tired. Because there were no more monsters left nearby. Whitebeard looked around at the devastated battlefield. Gurararara, I haven't even started using my devil fruit. Garp laughed. I haven't either. Roger stretched lazily. I haven't fought this comfortably in years. Ren opened his status panel. Their levels had already risen rapidly. He smiled faintly. Our hypothesis was correct. Grandpa Sengoku looked over. What is it? Ren closed the panel. Our original strength remains. Levels simply add to it. He looked toward the deeper regions of the monster tide. Far away, several terrifying auras slowly awakened. Unlike the monsters they had just defeated, these presences did not retreat. Instead, they began walking toward the battlefield. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. Now, the real fight begins. Chapter 151, Garp gets serious. The first wave had been wiped out. Yet, the battlefield still stretched to the horizon. Millions of monsters remained. Garp looked around, then sighed. This is getting boring. Roger laughed. Ha ha ha, you've already lost your patience. Garp cracked his neck. I'm tired of throwing one punch at a time. Ren glanced at him. Grandpa, don't destroy half the continent. Garp grinned. I'll be careful. The next moment, he stopped suppressing himself. The armament hockey covering his body erupted. Boom. The ground beneath his feet shattered. A massive crater spread outward. Black lightning burst wildly from his body. Thousands of nearby monsters instinctively retreated. Then, Garp bent his knees. Boom. The earth exploded. His body shot into the sky like a cannonball. Hundreds of meters. Thousands of meters. He continued rising. The monsters below looked up. For a brief moment, everything became strangely quiet. High above the battlefield, Garp spun once in midair. His right fist drew backward. An overwhelming amount of armament hockey condensed around it. Then, Conqueror's hockey fused into the strike. Black lightning wrapped around his entire arm. Roger looked upward and laughed. Ha ha ha, that old man, he's actually enjoying himself. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. Here it comes. Sengoku sighed. There goes the battlefield. Garp's eyes locked onto the center of the level 100 horde. Then, he punched downward. Galaxy Breaker. The punch never physically touched the ground. A pillar of compressed hockey descended first. The air screamed. The pressure alone crushed countless monsters before the attack landed. An instant later, the fist struck. Boom. The entire plane shook violently. The earth collapsed inward. A gigantic crater formed where the attack landed. The shockwave rolled outward in every direction. Within a radius of nearly 2 kilometers. Everything disappeared. Level 100 monsters were erased instantly. Not torn apart. Not blown away. Simply overwhelmed by the sheer force of the attack. Dust filled the sky. The battlefield fell silent. Even the monsters in the distance stopped charging. They stared at the enormous crater, unable to understand what had just happened. Roger whistled. That's more like the Garp I remember. Whitebeard laughed loudly. Gurararara. You've frightened the entire monster tide. At that moment, blue windows rapidly appeared before Garp. Level up. Level 11 reached. Level up. Level 12 reached. Level up. Level 13 reached. The notifications continued, one after another. They appeared so quickly that Garp could barely read them. Level 15. Level 18. Level 21. Level 24. His level rose continuously. Roger blinked. Ha ha ha. So this is what happens when you wipe out thousands at once. Ren quietly observed Garp's status. As each level increased, 10 attribute points were automatically added. But something else caught his attention. The attribute gains from leveling were tiny compared to Garp's original attributes. Ren smiled faintly. So that's how it works. Grandpa Sengoku looked over. What did you discover? Ren closed his status panel. Levels are powerful for this world's people. But for us, they're only the beginning. He looked toward the deeper parts of the monster tide. Several terrifying auras, far stronger than the level 100 monsters, had begun moving. Unlike the others, these beings had not been frightened by Garp's attack. Instead, they were coming to investigate the intruders who had just annihilated thousands of monsters with a single punch. Chapter 152, The Legends Unleashed. The battlefield had become eerily quiet. A massive crater nearly 2 kilometers wide marked where Garp's punch had landed. Roger laughed. Ha ha ha, you've stolen all the fun. Garp scratched his head. I only threw one punch. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. Then it's my turn. Before Whitebeard could move, Sengoku stepped forward. No, I'll go first. He didn't transform into his Buddha form. He simply jumped. Boom. The ground shattered beneath his feet as he launched himself into the densest part of the monster horde. Thousands of monsters roared and charged. Sengoku calmly raised one palm. A terrifying amount of Ruo flowed from his arm. At the same time, Conqueror's hockey wrapped around the invisible shockwave. His palm struck empty air. It never touched the ground. Yet, boom, a massive invisible shockwave erupted outward. The earth split open beneath the monster tide. Gigantic cracks raced across the battlefield like dragons. Everything caught within the shockwave was pulverized. Hundreds of level 100 monsters exploded before they even understood what had happened. The shockwave continued for several kilometers before gradually fading. Blue windows immediately appeared before Sengoku. Level up. Level 10 reached. Level up. Level 14 reached. Level up. Level 19 reached. Roger whistled. Ha ha ha. So Grandpa Sengoku was holding back too. Sengoku adjusted his glasses calmly. I merely tested whether Ruo could penetrate mana. Ren looked toward the destroyed battlefield. And Sengoku nodded. It completely ignores their external defenses. Their mana reinforcement cannot stop internal destruction. Ren quietly wrote another note into his notebook. Another useful discovery. Whitebeard smiled. My turn. He slowly lifted Murakumogiri. Unlike before, he still didn't activate the tremor fruit. Instead, an overwhelming amount of Ruo flowed into the legendary Supreme Grade blade. Then, Conqueror's Haki wrapped around it. Black lightning exploded from the weapon. The surrounding air began cracking under the pressure. Roger narrowed his eyes. That's an incredible amount of Haki. Whitebeard calmly stepped forward. Then, he swung. Slash. A gigantic black crescent shot across the battlefield. There was no earthquake, no devil fruit ability, only pure swordsmanship, enhanced by Ruo and Conqueror's Haki. Everything before the slash disappeared. Hundreds, then thousands, of monsters were cut apart. The slash continued for several kilometers before finally vanishing beyond the horizon. A perfectly straight canyon remained behind. Roger burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, you didn't even use your fruit. Whitebeard rested Murakumogiri on his shoulder. Gurararara, if ordinary monsters require my devil fruit, they aren't worth fighting. Blue windows rapidly appeared before him. Level up, level 12 reached. Level up, level 17 reached. Level up, level 23 reached. His level continued climbing. Ren quietly observed the battlefield. 3 legends, 3 attacks. Not one of them had relied on a devil fruit. Not one had used mana. They had only used the power they brought from their own world. Far in the distance, the powerful presences that had been approaching finally stopped. For the first time, the level 120 and level 150 monsters didn't charge immediately. They stared at the devastated battlefield. Then at the 6 humans. Instinct warned them that these intruders were unlike anything they had ever encountered. Ren smiled faintly. Now, we've finally attracted the monsters we came here to find. Chapter 153, The Pirate King and the Dark King. The battlefield had fallen into complete chaos. Garp, Grandpa Sengoku, and Whitebeard had each carved enormous gaps through the monster tide. Roger looked at the devastated plain and laughed. Ha ha ha, I can't let those 3 steal all the glory. He slowly raised Ace. Dark lightning danced wildly along the blade. Ruo continuously poured into the sword. Then, Conqueror's Haki wrapped around the entire slash. The pressure alone forced thousands of nearby monsters to their knees. Roger smiled. Let's see whether this world can stop this. He swung horizontally. Divine Departure. A gigantic black crescent erupted from his blade. Unlike Whitebeard's overwhelming destructive force, Roger's slash was unbelievably fast. The attack crossed the battlefield in an instant. Everything along its path, monsters, magic, trees, mountains, was cleanly split apart. A canyon several kilometers long appeared across the plains. The monster tide had been cut completely in half. Blue windows immediately appeared before Roger. Level up, level 13 reached. Level up, level 18 reached. Level up, level 24 reached. Roger laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, so this is leveling. Meanwhile, Rayleigh never launched a devastating attack. Instead, he simply disappeared. No one could follow his movements. Not even Roger. Silver flashes continuously appeared throughout the battlefield. Every second, hundreds of monsters collapsed. One, then another, then dozens, then hundreds. Each monster bore only a single sword wound. Perfectly clean, perfectly fatal. Roger watched for a moment before shaking his head. Ha ha ha, you're still a monster, Rayleigh. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. His efficiency has always been terrifying. Sengoku adjusted his glasses. Roger destroys battlefields. Rayleigh destroys armies. Within a single minute, thousands of level 100 monsters had quietly fallen. Rayleigh finally stopped. He calmly sheathed his sword. The surrounding monsters collapsed almost simultaneously, as if they had all been cut at the exact same moment. Blue windows rapidly appeared before him. Level up, level 11 reached. Level up, level 16 reached. Level up, level 22 reached. His level continued climbing. Ren silently watched everything. Roger specialized in overwhelming destructive slashes. Whitebeard relied on absolute power. Garp crushed everything with his fists. Grandpa Sengoku mastered internal destruction. Rayleigh had become the embodiment of efficiency. Not a single movement was wasted. Not a single slash missed. Ren smiled faintly as he wrote another note into his notebook. The same destination, but completely different paths. Far in the distance, the level 120 and level 150 monsters finally reached the edge of the devastated battlefield. For the first time, instead of charging immediately, they hesitated. The corpses of tens of thousands of level 100 monsters had made even these powerful creatures cautious. The true rulers of the monster tide had finally arrived. Chapter 154, The White Lightning Tiger. The battlefield grew strangely quiet. The ordinary level 100 monsters no longer charged recklessly. Instead, they slowly retreated, making way for something far more terrifying. ROOOOOAAARRR. A deafening roar echoed across the plains. The earth trembled. A gigantic white tiger emerged from the monster tide. It stood nearly 200 meters tall. Its pure white fur shimmered beneath the sunlight. Blue lightning continuously danced across its body. Every step left scorched footprints on the ground. Its overwhelming aura instantly surpassed every monster that had appeared before. Ren narrowed his eyes. A level 140 monster. Roger smiled. Now we're talking. The tiger's golden eyes swept across the 6 humans. Finally, its gaze stopped on Garp. It instinctively chose the physically strongest opponent. Without hesitation, it disappeared. A sonic boom exploded behind it. Blue lightning stretched for kilometers as the enormous beast accelerated. Roger's eyes widened. That's fast. Garp only grinned. Ha ha ha. Come. Instead of retreating, he shot forward. Boom. The ground exploded beneath his feet. The distance between man and beast vanished instantly. The tiger raised its gigantic claw. Black-blue lightning wrapped around it. Garp drew back his fist. Armament Haki. Ruo. Conqueror's Haki. All 3 merged into one punch. The fist and claw collided. Boom. The impact created an earth-shattering shockwave. The surrounding ground peeled away layer by layer. Thousands of nearby monsters were blown into the sky. The battlefield itself sank several meters. For the first time since arriving in this world, Garp failed to overpower his opponent. The tiger's raw physical strength was no less than his own. Garp's grin widened. Ha ha ha. Excellent. Before the tiger could react, Garp's free hand shot forward. His fist slammed directly into the beast's face. Crack. The enormous tiger's head smashed into the ground. A gigantic crater erupted beneath it. Dust filled the sky, but the beast was far from defeated. Its tail moved like a lightning whip. Boom. The massive tail struck Garp squarely in the side. The impact echoed across the plains. Garp was launched backward. He flew several hundred meters before crashing through a line of hills. Mountains collapsed behind him. Roger watched with excitement. Ha ha ha. That tiger actually sent Garp flying. Whitebeard smiled broadly. Gurararara. Now that's a worthy opponent. A moment later, the pile of rubble exploded. Garp walked out completely unharmed. He brushed the dust from his shoulders. His eyes were brighter than ever. Ha ha ha. It's been years since something could send me flying. He clenched both fists. Dark lightning erupted around his body once again. Across the battlefield, the giant white tiger slowly stood up. Blood trickled from the corner of its mouth. Its golden eyes locked onto Garp. For the first time, neither side underestimated the other. One was the hero of the Marines. The other, a level 140 king of the monster tide. Their true battle was only just beginning. Chapter 155, Red and White. Garp slowly rolled his shoulders. The excitement in his eyes continued to grow. It's been a long time since someone could match my strength. The giant white tiger stood once more. Blue lightning constantly danced across its body. Its golden eyes remained locked on Garp. Then, both smiled in their own way. One, a fearless marine hero. The other, a king among monsters. The next instant, Garp's conqueror's haki erupted without restraint. Boom. Dark red and black lightning exploded from his body. The surrounding ground shattered before he even moved. Deep cracks raced across the plains. The nearby level 100 monsters collapsed one after another. Some died simply from the pressure. Roger laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. Garp is finally getting serious. The white tiger answered with a deafening roar. Roar. The blue lightning surrounding its body suddenly intensified. The color gradually changed. Blue became dazzling white. The lightning grew denser and more violent. Every step melted the ground beneath its paws. Ren narrowed his eyes, so it can strengthen itself further. The next moment, both vanished. Boom. A crimson streak shot across the battlefield. At the same time, a brilliant white streak charged from the opposite direction. The distance between them disappeared instantly. Roger focused his observation haki. So fast, even he could barely follow them. Then, they met. Or rather, they almost met. Garp's fist never touched the tiger's claw. Several centimeters separated them. Between those centimeters, an endless struggle erupted. Dark red-black conqueror's haki clashed against the tiger's white lightning. Neither side yielded. The air itself twisted. Boom. A circular shockwave exploded outward. Then another. And another. Concentric rings of destruction spread across the battlefield. Everything caught within them was swept away. Thousands of level 100 monsters were crushed into dust without either combatant touching them. Even the distant battlefields were affected. Roger's coat fluttered violently. Whitebeard dug Murakumogiri into the ground to steady himself. Rayleigh stopped moving for the first time. Sengoku looked toward the collision. So, even the aftershocks alone are this destructive. Ren calmly observed the clash. They're not simply exchanging physical strength. Their wills are colliding. The space between the fist and claw continuously distorted. Black and white lightning intertwined like raging dragons. Neither side could gain even a single inch. The ground beneath them, unable to bear the pressure, collapsed continuously. A crater hundreds of meters wide formed beneath the clash. Then, without warning, both figures were blasted backward simultaneously. Garp slid across the plains for hundreds of meters before stopping himself. The white tiger also skidded backward, carving deep trenches into the earth with all four claws. For several seconds, neither moved. Then, Garp burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. Excellent. This is exactly the kind of fight I came to another world for. Across from him, the white tiger lowered its body once more. White lightning crackled even more violently around it. It had also realized something. The human standing before it was unlike any opponent it had ever faced. Chapter 156, The Clash of Flesh. For a brief moment, both combatants stood perfectly still. Neither released another wave of haki. Neither gathered energy. Garp smiled. No tricks. No fancy techniques. The white tiger answered with a low growl. Its muscles swelled beneath its snow-white fur. The white lightning surrounding its body gradually faded. It had made the same decision. A contest of pure physical strength. Roger grinned. Ha ha ha, now this is going to be fun. The next instant, both disappeared. Boom. The ground beneath them exploded. Garp's fist met the tiger's claw. Bang. This time, there was no barrier of haki between them. No lightning, only raw strength. The collision alone shattered the surrounding earth. Without giving the tiger time to recover, Garp threw another punch. Then another. Then another. His fists became afterimages. The white tiger answered with its own claws. Its forelegs swung with unbelievable speed. Each collision echoed like thunder. Bang. Boom. Crack. Shockwaves erupted continuously. Mountains in the distance collapsed from the repeated impacts. The surrounding level 100 monsters desperately fled. Those too slow were crushed by the pressure alone. Roger watched with shining eyes. Ha ha ha, they're actually matching each other. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. That tiger's body is absurdly strong. The white tiger suddenly twisted its body. Its massive shoulders slammed into Garp. Boom. Garp slid backward across the ground. Before he could regain his footing, the tiger opened its jaws. Its enormous fangs bit toward him. Garp reacted instantly. He grabbed both upper and lower jaws with his bare hands. The tiger roared. It pushed forward with all its strength. The ground beneath Garp's feet cracked, then shattered. He was pushed backward for hundreds of meters. A deep trench formed behind him. Roger laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, it's overpowering him. Garp's grin only widened. That's the spirit. His muscles bulged. Veins rose across both arms. With a roar, he stopped retreating. The trench ended. The earth beneath his feet exploded. Little by little, he forced the tiger's jaws apart. The giant beast's eyes widened. For the first time, its raw strength was being overcome. Grah! The tiger twisted violently. Its hind leg kicked directly into Garp's chest. Boom! Garp released its jaws and was blasted backward. He rolled across the ground before planting one hand into the earth and stopping himself. The tiger also landed several hundred meters away. Both were breathing heavily. Neither had suffered serious injuries. But both understood. Their opponent could match them blow for blow. Ren quietly watched the exchange. No haki. No mana. No techniques. Only physical strength. He smiled faintly. This is the true foundation of a warrior. Across the battlefield, Garp slowly stood up. He cracked his neck, then looked at the white tiger with an even brighter smile. Ha ha ha, let's keep going. The giant tiger lowered its body once more. This time, there was no hesitation in its eyes. Only the instinctive excitement of finding an equal. Chapter 157, The Right Opponent. While Garp and the white tiger continued their brutal exchange, two more terrifying auras emerged from the depths of the monster tide. The first was a gigantic rhinoceros. It stood nearly 180 meters tall. Its body was covered in dark stone-like armor. Each step caused the earth to tremble. The ground beneath it rose and fell like ocean waves. Mountains of rock floated around its body. Ren narrowed his eyes. Earth affinity. And an extremely defense-oriented monster. The second was an enormous bull. Its entire body was engulfed in crimson flames. Every breath released torrents of fire. Its burning hooves melted the earth into lava. The surrounding air distorted from the intense heat. Roger smiled. Looks like everyone gets an opponent. The rhinoceros lowered its massive horn. Its heavy body charged directly toward Sengoku. Every step raised gigantic walls of earth. At the same time, the flaming bull let out a furious roar. It rushed toward Whitebeard like a living volcano. Before either monster reached them, Whitebeard suddenly laughed. Gurararara. Sengoku. Sengoku looked toward him. What? Whitebeard rested Murakumogiri on his shoulder. Give me the rhinoceros. Sengoku raised an eyebrow. And why would I? Whitebeard grinned broadly. I want to shake the earth today. He looked at the charging rhinoceros. Let's see, who can make the ground surrender first? Roger immediately burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, only you would challenge an earth monster to an earthquake contest. Whitebeard pointed toward the flaming bull. That one suits you better. It uses overwhelming impact and explosive force. Sengoku looked between the two monsters for a moment, then smiled. Fine. The two legends vanished simultaneously. In the next instant, their opponents had changed. The flaming bull now stood before Sengoku. The gigantic rhinoceros lowered its horn toward Whitebeard. The earth around the rhinoceros surged upward. Gigantic pillars of stone erupted beneath Whitebeard. Whitebeard simply planted Murakumogiri into the ground. He smiled. Gurararara, you control the earth. He slowly gripped his weapon. Then, let's find out whose earth listens better. Across the battlefield, the rhinoceros roared. The entire plain shook violently. Whitebeard's smile widened. His favorite kind of opponent had finally appeared. Chapter 158, The Quake in the Stone. The gigantic rhinoceros stomped its massive front hooves. Boom! Hundreds of stone spears, each as large as a skyscraper, erupted from the ground. They shot toward Whitebeard from every direction. At the same time, the earth itself began to shake. The surrounding tectonic plates shifted violently, attempting to crush everything within several kilometers. Whitebeard didn't move, he didn't dodge, he didn't even raise Murakumogiri. Instead, he slowly pulled back his left fist. A translucent white sphere of vibrating air wrapped around it. Whitebeard smiled. Gurararara. So this is your earth. He punched the empty air. Break. Crack. The space before his fist fractured like shattered glass. White cracks spread across the sky. An overwhelming vibration burst outward. Boom. The incoming stone spears didn't merely stop. They instantly crumbled into fine sand. The invisible shockwave continued forward without slowing. It collided head-on with the rhinoceros's earth-shaking attack. The battlefield exploded. The ground between them tore apart. A gigantic trench, several kilometers long, opened across the plains. Ren quietly watched from a distance. His observation hockey continuously analyzed both attacks. The rhinoceros manipulates the shape and density of the earth. He wrote another note into his notebook. Whitebeard controls vibration itself. The two abilities oppose each other directly. Whitebeard rested Murakumogiri on his shoulder. His smile grew wider. Gurararara. Again, on another battlefield. The temperature rose dramatically. The flaming bull charged across the plains. Every step melted the ground. A river of magma formed behind it. Its entire body became a blazing meteor. It lowered its burning horns and rushed toward Sengoku. Sengoku remained perfectly calm. He slowly adjusted his glasses. Explosive force. So that's your specialty. Golden light erupted from his body. In an instant, he transformed into his gigantic Buddha form. The sacred golden figure towered over the battlefield. The bull leapt. Its body became a descending sun of crimson fire. Sengoku calmly raised one enormous palm. Then, he thrust it forward. Shockwave. Zoom. A concentrated golden shockwave erupted from his palm. It struck the flaming bull head-on. Red flames and golden light collided in the center of the battlefield. Boom. The resulting explosion shook the heavens. Clouds of superheated steam spread for kilometers. Every nearby level 100 monster was instantly incinerated by the residual heat. Even the ground turned into glowing molten rock. Sengoku looked through the steam. Not bad, but you still lack control. Far away, Roger watched all three legendary battles unfold. Garp, exchanging fists and claws with the white lightning tiger. Whitebeard, shattering the rhinoceros's earth domain. Sengoku, suppressing the flaming bull with overwhelming shockwaves. Roger slowly drew ace. Black and crimson lightning danced wildly along the blade. The ground around him split apart from the pressure alone. A wild grin spread across his face. Ha ha ha. He looked toward Ren. Hey, Ren. Roger's voice carried unmistakable excitement. Are there any more level 140 monsters hiding back there? He rested Ace on his shoulder. Because, I'm starting to feel a little left out. Ren spread his observation hockey across the battlefield. A moment later, he smiled faintly. There are. Roger's eyes lit up. 3 more level 140s. And, he paused briefly. His expression became more serious. One presence. That's even stronger. Roger laughed louder than ever. Ha 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 ha. Perfect. Without waiting another second, he shot toward the depths of the monster tide. The strongest monsters had finally begun to awaken. Chapter 159, The World's Strongest Man. Whitebeard looked at the earth-covered rhinoceros. Then, at Murakumogiri planted beside him. He smiled. Gurararara. Today, I want to push my devil fruit beyond its limits. He left the supreme grade blade standing in the ground. For this battle, I'll use only my body, my hockey, and my devil fruit. The rhinoceros snorted. Its massive body trembled. The earth around it answered. Mountains of rock rose into the sky. The ground became an extension of its own body. Whitebeard slowly clenched both fists. Dark armament hockey coated his arms. Ruo flowed beneath the surface. Black-red conqueror's lightning erupted around his towering frame. Boom. The surrounding plains split apart. Roger glanced over and laughed. Ha ha ha. Newgate's serious too. The next instant, Whitebeard vanished. The rhinoceros charged at the exact same moment. Its speed was unbelievable for a creature of its size. Every step shook the earth. Stone armor continuously formed around its body. The distance between them disappeared instantly. Boom. Whitebeard's fist collided directly with the rhinoceros's horn. The impact shook the heavens. The surrounding mountains collapsed. Shockwaves rolled across the battlefield. Neither side gave an inch. The rhinoceros suddenly dug all 4 legs into the earth. Its connection with the land strengthened instantly. With a violent twist of its neck, it lifted Whitebeard into the sky. The giant pirate was thrown hundreds of meters upward. The rhinoceros immediately slammed both front legs onto the ground. Boom. The plains erupted. Gigantic earth pillars shot toward the sky. Boulders larger than warships accelerated toward Whitebeard at supersonic speed. The entire sky became a storm of stone. Whitebeard calmly regained his balance in midair. He looked down at the endless barrage. Gurararara. So this is your domain. His right fist slowly drew back. A white sphere of vibration wrapped around it. Then, Ruo fused into the attack. Conqueror's haki crackled around the vibrating sphere. 3 supreme powers became one. Whitebeard punched downward. Craaaack. The air shattered. A massive vibration spread through the earth itself. The charging pillars instantly cracked apart. The gigantic boulders exploded into dust. More importantly, the vibration traveled directly through the ground. The earth beneath the rhinoceros suddenly began trembling uncontrollably. The stone giant's eyes widened. Its perfect control over the terrain was breaking apart. The earth no longer obeyed it. Instead, it shook violently under Whitebeard's overwhelming vibrations. Ren watched carefully. His eyes gleamed with interest. He's not destroying the earth. He's disrupting the vibration frequency the rhinoceros uses to control it. Sengoku nodded while exchanging blows with the flaming bull. So, instead of overpowering its earth manipulation, he's severing its connection to the earth itself. The rhinoceros roared in fury. For the first time since the battle began, the ruler of the earth element had lost control of its own battlefield. Whitebeard landed heavily upon the broken plains. Dust slowly settled around him. He rolled his shoulders. A broad grin spread across his face. Gurararara. Come on, I've only just started shaking the world. Chapter 160, The Wrathful Buddha. Across the battlefield, Sengoku and the Flaming Bull continued exchanging devastating blows. The giant beast suddenly stopped. Its crimson eyes glowed brightly. The flames surrounding its horns intensified. The blazing red gradually turned golden white. The temperature rose once again. Even the surrounding air began to melt. With a furious roar, the bull lowered its head and charged. Its burning horns tore through the battlefield like twin volcanoes. Sengoku calmly raised both hands. Boom! He caught both horns head-on. The impact sent shockwaves across the plains. The ground beneath his feet collapsed. For a moment, neither moved. Then, Sengoku frowned. Hot. The temperature of the horns continued rising. Even his armament haki could no longer isolate all of the heat. The flesh of his palms slowly began to burn. Roger glanced over. Looks like Sengoku finally found someone troublesome. Sengoku sighed. I didn't want to use this so early. Golden light erupted from his body. His already gigantic Buddha form began changing. The large round belly gradually disappeared. In its place, perfectly defined 8-pack abs emerged. The peaceful expression on his face became sharper. The pure golden glow surrounding his body darkened slightly. White and gold ribbon-like clouds slowly flowed around his shoulders. His entire presence became far more oppressive. This was not devil fruit liberation, nor was it a new form. It was simply the awakened form of the human fruit, model, Buddha. A form Sengoku had rarely used after growing old. Ren smiled faintly. So Grandpa Sengoku finally stopped holding back. With a powerful pull, Sengoku ripped the flaming bull off its feet. Then, he hurled the giant beast across the battlefield. Boom! The bull spun through the sky. Before crashing, it twisted its body, landing perfectly on all 4 legs. The instant its hooves touched the ground, the earth began changing. Black rock slowly melted. The battlefield transformed into an endless sea of magma. Lava erupted everywhere. The heat became so intense that even distant level 100 monsters were instantly reduced to ash. The flaming bull roared proudly. Within this sea of magma, its speed increased dramatically. It became a streak of crimson light. Sengoku didn't retreat. Instead, he stepped into the sky. Using Geppo, he ran across the air itself. The flaming bull charged upward. Sengoku descended. They met head-on. His enormous palm, wrapped in Ruo and Conqueror's haki, struck directly against the bull's blazing horns. Boom! The collision distorted the surrounding space. Rivers of magma exploded into the sky. Entire lakes of molten rock were blasted hundreds of meters into the air. The shockwave flattened everything nearby. The bull's horns cracked under the overwhelming impact. But, the cracks healed almost instantly. The beast's regeneration was astonishing. At the same time, the unbearable heat finally broke through Sengoku's defenses. The skin on his massive golden palm began to burn. Even parts of his forearms were scorched black. Ren observed carefully. So the flames can finally injure him. But before anyone could worry, golden light flowed through Sengoku's body. The burned flesh regenerated instantly. The damaged muscles recovered in moments. Roger laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, so even your awakened Buddha form regenerates. Sengoku smiled calmly. The body of a Buddha isn't so easily destroyed. The flaming bull stared at him. For the first time, it realized that the giant golden figure standing before it could both withstand its flames and heal from them almost instantly. The true battle had only just begun.